All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Royals series as well as all of the latest news and rumors going on in Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns. If you feel like you're being ignored, you are not being ignored at all. You're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Postgame. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 152 of our show. Frank, you're here as well. We've made it to the All-Star break. What is it? 97 games have been played because we keep track of this because we go back and forth with the post games, but we finally get a little bit of a break. We get to see some of the stars of the game perform on national TV, and we don't have to sweat out some Mets games for 4 days. So that's pretty good, not bad. And then we get right back into the action to the home stretch of baseball season. But good to have one half down.
Yes, well, one half down, one half to go. And it's really more than half because, like you said, they played over 90. So they've gone through a tough stretch. And now we saw this weekend a lot of the pitchers come back. It feels like they've gone through the toughest stretch. So you hope that at least the second half, hopefully, should be much more stable. Because if you use 36 pitchers in the first half, you hope you don't need another 36 for the second half. I mean, that's kind of what I'm just hopeful for, that they just get a little more healthy, a little more consistently going forward for the second half, because I feel like you'll see a totally different team where you don't have so many things up in flux. You don't know who's coming in, who's going out. There's just been a lot going on this past month or so. So I'm hoping that now that they've gotten a couple guys back, you can see just kind of a lot more things follow.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we don't have any more curveballs, especially in this pitching staff where it seems like everybody is dropping dead every single week, and we're talking about somebody new. So hopefully they stay healthy down the stretch of the season. It's key. Obviously, there's some adjustments that do need to be made at the deadline, obviously. But again, there is going to be some things that they're going to have to deal with and figure out down the stretch here and finish things up. But as for everyone that is watching live right now on the screen, for our audio listeners, we have an empty box on the screen right here. And that means that today we are joined by a special guest. And if you watched our show from the very beginning, you know that this guy used to be a regular on our panel. Then he left us for the great state of Nebraska. Now he's back on the scene for daily Mets content. Please help us welcome back Mets Weekly alum TonyMetro. Tony, great to have you back on. I think the last time you were on, it was during spring training. So there definitely has been a gap there. So welcome back. Good to have you on again.
Boys, always great to be here. Appreciate that very lovely introduction. The team's playing relatively well. Half game back at the All-Star break. Obviously, like you said, Frank, we've played a little more than half, and I want to echo that sentiment. Hopefully, we don't have to see 36 pitchers to get us through these final 70-something games, because there were some guys we really hope we never do have to watch pitch in the orange and blue again. But otherwise, been a pretty solid first half, and great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they still have plenty to go. I mean, like we said, 97 games. They play 162. So, again, they still have a big key part of this schedule, especially in division. I know that they have some series somewhat coming up against Philly as well. I mean, as of right now, I'm looking at it as a two-man race somewhat. I mean, the Marlins right now are sitting with like a huge gap of run differential as of right now in third place. But I'm still not going to count out the Braves because I think there is a point as to, with Mets fans, as they need to learn a lesson as to you should not poke the bear. And I'm going to tell you right now, we still don't match up well with that Braves team. So I'm not going to count them out just yet. 12 and a half games out, we've seen them erase bigger deficits than that. So at some point, until they are officially mathematically eliminated, I am not going to count out that Braves team from sneak attacking us whatsoever. Ricardo in the chat here saying, "What's up, guys?" and saying 65 games to go. Wow, this season is really going. Yeah, it's definitely gone quick. It's felt longer at some points in this season, I will say. Very, very, you've had a few stretches where the team was rolling a little bit, but there were still some rough games to get there. And then there was times where they were just playing uninspiring baseball. So it's not as big of a roller coaster as we've been seeing, as we were seeing last year in 2024, which was just an up and down ride of good baseball, bad baseball, and everything in between. But at least it's a little bit better and it's a little bit more consistent, but there are some things that they do need to address, obviously. And we will get into some of that stuff when you guys, you'll ask us some questions of some kind of topics with the team. But either way, I do want to relatively put this episode of more just recapping what we saw in the first half, as we will get into the first half awards later on. But we do have some games to recap before then. So let's get into this series in Kansas City. 3-game set, closing out the first half before the All-Star break. Now, it started off with Kodai Senga making his return from the injured list, and he'd fight in and out of trouble all night while on a pitch count. He'd end his day, 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts on 67 pitches. The Mets would finally score against Michael Wacha in the third after making him work. Pete Alonso would draw a bases-loaded walk to make it 1-0 Mets. Alex Carrillo would make his second appearance as a Met and toss a scoreless 5th. He'd come back for the 6th inning and allow the tying run in to score, which would be the slow Salvador Perez, from all the way from first on a misplay by Brandon Nimmo in left field. Huskar Brazaban would get the 7th and struggle to miss bats after a leadoff single would be erased from a caught stealing from Hayden Sanger. Another single with 1 out would lead to a 2-run homer to Bobby Witt to give Kansas City a 3-1 lead. But the Mets would fight all the way back in the 8th after a leadoff single by Brandon Nimmo, back-to-back walks to Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. Mark Vientos would finally break through with a 3-run double to right center field, putting the Mets back in front 4-3. Reed Garrett would come on for the 8th and toss a scoreless inning with a strikeout, and the Mets would pile it on from there in the 9th after a leadoff double by Tyrone Taylor and a walk to Brandon Nimmo. Francisco Lindor would launch his 19th home run of the year, a 3-run shot to extend the Mets' lead. Juan Soto would follow him with his 22nd home run of the year to give the Mets a 5-run lead. And able to sit Edwin Diaz, the Mets would end up going to Chris Stevenski for the 9th, and he'd retire the side in order to finish the game to secure back-to-back late comebacks in series openers, 8-3. Game 2, Frankie Montas would make his 4th start as a Met, and he would pitch into the 6th inning after back-to-back doubles to start the frame. In the 6th, he'd be pulled for Reed Garrett, who would advance the runner to third on a throwing error, but buckle down to strand the runners with a timely pop fly, ground out, and fly out to keep the Mets ahead and close the book on Montas. 5+ innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 5 strikeouts on 83 pitches. The Mets would get on the board in the 4th after a leadoff single and a stolen base by Francisco Lindor. Juan Soto would launch his 23rd home run of the year, a 2-run shot. Chris Stevenski would get the 8th and work around a leadoff walk and a 1-out hit by pitch to post a scoreless inning. Edwin Diaz would come in for the 8th and toss the scoreless inning, erasing a 1-out walk from a caught stealing from Luis Torrens. The Mets would get some insurance in the 9th with a 1-out double from Pete Alonso. Jeff McNeil would drive in an RBI single to make it a 2-run ball game. Edwin Diaz would come back out for the ninth and toss a scoreless inning to complete a 6-out save, and back-to-back wins in Kansas City, 3-1. Game 3. Clay Holmes would get the ball for the series finale and keep the ball on the ground in Clay Holmes fashion, surrendering 2 earned runs in the second inning against the bottom of the Kansas City order, but he turned into a solid outing. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts on 81 pitches. Sean Manaea would piggyback for the rest of the game, making his 2025 debut. More on that later. The Mets offense would put up a goose egg for 8 innings against left-handed rookie Noah Cameron for 6 2/3 innings, but down 2-0 in the ninth. The Mets would rally against Carlos Estevez. Following a lead-off double by Ronnie Mauricio, Jeff McNeil would get the Mets on the board with an RBI triple. With 1 out and a runner at third, pinch hitter Jared Young would tie the game at 2 on a sacrifice fly to center field. However, Sean Manaea would go out for the ninth and surrender a 1-out single to Tyler Tolbert with a stolen base to follow. Nick Lofton would drive him in on an RBI single to walk off the Mets and avoid the sweep in the series finale, 3-2. The Mets are now 55-42 on the season going into the All-Star break, sitting a half game behind the Phillies for first place in the National League East. So plenty to unpack as we get into the All-Star break festivities here. Again, a series in Kansas City against a team that you expected them to take 2 out of 3. They ended up doing it. Frank, I'll go to you with your main takeaways that you saw in this series. And then obviously, I mean, I'm glad that we're getting healthier on the starting pitching front. That's all I can say, just in general, off the bat.
I mean, All-Star break might have started, but if you look in Kansas City, there's still a few players still standing on base with how many guys the Mets and Royals both left on base. They are still in Kauffman Stadium, all standing on the bases waiting to be driven in. And it was just inept offense on both sides, because you look at hitting with runners in scoring position, the Mets are at 230, the Royals are at 229. So it's like you had just these two teams have a battle of who could strand more runners. And that's what it felt like. I mean, you saw these last 2 games, how low scoring they were. And in the first game, it took the Mets until the end to actually get it going. And the Mets don't have an excuse. Like, with all this talent they have, there should not be so many games where it's only 3 runs, only 2 runs, especially the bullpen game. I mean, like, how do you only end up with 3 runs after that? Cameron's been great, only 2 runs allowed, a bunch of starts. Okay, fine. But game 2, I mean, this should not be a sweat fest here where, just barely hanging on. You need Diaz to go 2 innings, and Reed Garrett's got to pitch the 6th inning because your offense can't give you anything. Like, that's not how it's supposed to go. And you're 97 games in, and you don't see improvement with the hang and run score position. It's always near the bottom. The only team below them, we mentioned the Royals. Then you have the Rockies and White Sox, who are both historically bad. Like, how much longer? You're 100 games in, and you're still hanging around all these teams that are historically bad. For them to be half a game out of first place with that going on, it's actually kind of incredible, to be honest with you. I mean, with the pitching injuries they've had, plus not being able to run score stage for almost 100 times, it's actually pretty impressive they're still where they're at. So I don't see how that's going to change. We'll probably get into it later, but I mean, it was just very frustrating when you're seeing it like on both sides. And it's like, the reason also why you won this year is because the Royals are just as bad, if not worse than you, when it comes to not being able to drive runs in, and they don't have the talent you do. So it was just like very frustrating. Like we've talked about before, but like you could win a series, you could lose a series, but there's ways you go about it where you feel good about the team, and other ways where you're like, man, this offense, we still need to improve.
I mean, what you're talking about is very similar to what I was talking about with back when they played Pittsburgh at Citi Field, not when they got swept, but when they played Pittsburgh at Citi Field, they won 2 out of 3, but they ended up getting outscored in that series because the offense was so inept and the pitching was throwing at such an unsustainable rate whatsoever. And, we've talked about it. Quality of wins do matter for the sustainable future of a 162 game season and also going into the playoffs. You're going to have situational hitting in the postseason as well. Because for everybody that tells me that, this team is in playoff position, okay, so what's going to happen when we get to the playoffs? Are we just going to leave an entire continent on base again? Because if that happens, you're going to lose. You are going to end up going home earlier than you want with World Series aspirations. Tony, I will go to you as well. Obviously, they got the wins, but, it's still the same issues that we continue to see. Runners in scoring position, bottom part of the lineup, inconsistent. Even top of the part of the lineup can be inconsistent. It's just been, the same, slog of games of they're winning, but, at what cost down the stretch?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm just going to say you're welcome to everybody because I was in attendance for Friday and Saturday's game at Kauffman Stadium. And that now makes me 6-0 while in person attending Mets games this year.
Nice.
Have never had this good of a start to a season in my life. Side note, real quick, Kauffman Stadium, very underwhelming. I know it's a little old, but to add to your point, Frank, I'm pretty sure that they're all still stranded out on the base paths there at Kauffman Stadium. I mean, I'm sitting there in the stands on Friday. The only run they get is the bases loaded walk to Pete Alonso. And as inning goes by and they continue to not cash in on opportunities, you get 4 innings of Senga and then we're kind of left holding the bag like we have been so often over the last month of how are we going to get the final 12 or 15 outs of this game? And oh, by the way, we only have a 1-0 lead. So, of course, inevitably it happens. Huascar Brazoban cracks. It's the Witt home run. Fortunately, the Mets able to rally in that 8th with Vientos clutch double, and then they pile on with the homers from Lindor and from Soto, but not exactly like the most impressive way to score 8 runs, if you know what I mean. It all came late when it was like backs against the wall. You gotta have it. And it was the same feeling that I had on Saturday as well. They end up going ahead 2-0 on the Soto homer. They chip away. They make it 2-1. And then, the Mets just fortunate that the Royals can't hit very well with runners in scoring position either. Yeah. So as lousy as I think the offense, and I guess lousy wouldn't be the word, but as underwhelming as it continues to be, I guess in a more positive mindset, the pitching was fantastic this weekend for the most part. Yeah. You get the return of Senga, which was great. Obviously, works out of that first inning jam. You even get a scoreless inning from Chris Davinsky in the 7th inning there. And Reed Garrett was nailed, stranding a runner at third with no outs. I'm sorry, that might have actually been Saturday. They all kind of bleed together now. But really solid pitching, obviously the 6-out save from Edwin Diaz. And then, of course, the return of Sean Manaea, which I know we'll get into a little bit later. So, yeah, offense definitely is doing basically what we've seen this first 3 months, which is if they're going to do it, it's just barely going to be enough to squeak out a win. But largely it's been the pitching that's been carrying the load for this team. It'd be nice to see it be a little more balanced going into the second half of the year.
Frank?
Yeah, Tony, you said a magic word, underwhelming. There's someone on this screen who had said the word underwhelming, and they had a riot that actually began. So, yeah. I mean, you got to be very careful when you say that word.
I had nuclear strikes sent to my house. That's how bad it got. Oof. And this is what I'm seeing. Maybe from the offensive standpoint side, but also from other aspects too. Defensively, it seems like fundamentally they have a lot of lapses as well. There's been a lot of, base running is very standstill with this team because there's not many guys on this team that use the base pass to give you value. So, all around just baseball, I've seen them play a lot of bad baseball this year. And I constantly get the pushback of, well, that means that, since they have a good record and they're playing good and they're not playing good baseball, just imagine when everything starts to click will be even better. Okay. When is it going to start to click? When is that going to actually happen? Because we have constantly said, again, runners in scoring position, perfect example. When is that going to get better? It's been 97 games now. Everyone will tell me, well, we're hitting into some really really bad luck, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and umpires have been screwing us. Okay, and they're like, oh well, we're due to go. We're due to go. Okay, when? When's it going to happen? When exactly is that going to happen? Because listen, I can express so many different things and be articulate with the overall of, advanced numbers of what has been going on with runners in scoring position. But again, we are continuing to still have the same issues. It's the same issues over and over again. And a lot of them are self-inflicted. It's not just, oh, he hit the ball hard. This is a lot. Chasing pitches, staring at strikes, pounding the ball into the ground. There's nothing great analytically about that. That's how I would say it. But Tony, if you want to add in there.
Yeah, I mean, just what I wanted to say is, I was feeling like the Mets had gotten out of the woods, out of those really dark times after the back-to-back series wins over the Brewers and against the Yankees. And I wanted them to follow it up by winning both of these series against Baltimore and against Kansas City. Even just 4 out of 6, didn't care how it happened if it meant a sweep of one team and only getting one against the other series. But, I mean, let's be realistic. As easily as the Mets could have finished the sweep yesterday, they could have easily been swept in Kansas City as well. And that's coming off the heels of getting swept in the doubleheader against Baltimore. And you could have made the case the Tuesday night 8th inning comeback. I mean, they were down, 6-2 in that game? So, I mean, it's not been the best week of baseball. I mean, and despite that, yes, they go into the break going 3-3 in these final 6. So make no apologies for it, but I want to see better baseball from this team.
It's the quality of play, because the quality of play is going to show if this type of continues against the actual good teams that you're going to face in the playoffs, or maybe even some good teams that you are going to face down the line for the rest of the season. And that's what I've continued to say since game 1, is that quality of play does matter, because that's what's going to sustain. It's not just, baseball can be a random game. Well, if it's so random, why are we failing with runners in scoring position every single game? If there's luck involved, luck goes both ways. So why is that continuing to happen over and over and over again? I mean, that's the full logic of why does this continue to be an issue? Because there's been plenty of these games where, okay, are we upset with Mendoza making this bullpen move? Are we upset with this? But when there's 1-2 runs on the board, who's really at fault for this entire situation? Who created it? I feel like we always talk about who was the one who was the culprit of what happened in the moment, but who created the moment? That's the main reason as to why I feel like it goes a little bit backwards of cause and effect with what the issue is with this team. And mainly this year, it has been the offense. And I've talked about it before. The offense is to blame for the pitching being completely knocked out, because they have been put into so many high pressure situations. And when that happens, those pitchers are going to pitch at max effort. What happens? Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to get gassed. And that's what happened. They are the ones to blame. So when people tell me that, the pitching staff is the one that's completely fallen off the rails here and they've been bad, and I'm not going to say an excuse in that bad stretch that it wasn't. But again, who put them in that situation of having to do unsustainable pitching? I feel like there's a lot of things under the hood of, what happened for all 9 innings? What happened for all 9 innings on the field? And I think that that's really easy to just completely gloss over when you see, the pitching blew up, and this is that. Well, guess what? When you have 1 run on the board, you're not going to win anyway. So again, and it's really hard for me to just sit here with the pitching where all of these injuries continue to happen. And you've lost Vientos for a few weeks. You lost Winker. Everyone's healthy. Nearly everyone is healthy. And we're still seeing underperforming like this. Yeah. We lost Siri, who's a big offensive weapon for this team.
Yeah. One addition besides Juan Soto they made. Addition, by the way, in air quotes. Addition. Yeah. That's a position player.
Yeah, I mean, we all
Again.
want to get mad at Rico Garcia and Chris Stavinsky
Yeah.
and Zuber and Adcock, and I'm just throwing out random names. But anytime they've come in and had a blow-up inning, it's like, all right, well, the Mets lineup that's making probably 2/3 of this $300 million payroll are 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position for the 5th
We
consecutive
say
game.
this all the time. We say this every single episode. You're just reiterating it. That's literally it. It's like this is I'm supposed to excuse an offense because they're playing a good pitcher. You're supposed to be the good hitters that beat the good pitchers. Like that. That's the thing. I feel like I'm sitting here listening to these constant excuses of the offense when they're here to perform. That's what they need to do. Either way, they did end up winning the series. It wasn't fantastic. And I know we're kind of sitting here, complaining at the All-Star break of what we saw, but it's like this quality of play is going to catch up to you. And I feel like there have been stretches where they have played good baseball, but there's also been so many stretches where they're winning by the skin of their teeth that the quality of the wins are very, very concerning. And there are things that do need to continue to get better, and hopefully they do address it. But however, right now, this team has a decent amount of issues that I don't think are going to be just completely solved with one deadline. I don't think it will be. So there's going to have to be somebody who steps up, whether that is somebody like Mark Vientos, who actually did okay this last week. He did a little bit better. But we're going to have to see a little bit more from him, whether that is one of the young guys, whether that is something here. I mean, again, it's all a cause and effect here. There's 26 guys on the roster, so it's not just one guy who is holding things up or one guy that's keeping this team from being a lot better. It's the fact that one department on the team was heavy lifting for 2 months and finally gave out. Maybe it's because this team isn't built around pitching. Maybe this team is built around a $341 million shortstop, a $765 million outfielder that you just gave the richest contract to, a first baseman who has been your slugger for over 6 years now. Maybe it's built around that. A $162 million outfielder as well that we gave that contract to. Like, it's the most expensive department on the team. And it should be pulling the 65-35 or the 70-30. That should be happening. You should not have an offense with Juan Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Lindor. You should not have an offense of that completely underperforming like this. And I should not have to go into every game, like I've said, with this type of talent in a lineup and say, is the offense going to show up today? I should not have to ask. I really should not have to ask that. Any other takeaways before we get into the best way to wrap this one up that went on with Kansas City? I finally put it in the second slot because it's just better timing, I think. But if there's anything else that you saw in this series that you want to just point out, plenty. Frank, Tony, if there's anything.
We could probably get into it later, I think, because like you said, last time we talked about the series for an hour and then we did 3 other subjects and then we came back to the
exactly.
Yeah.
Just absolutely nuts. Let's just say that. So for those of you in the chat, I'm sure we've got a few comments that we will pull up going into everything, into the into the trade, some stuff about the trade deadline and things like that. And then also some other performances as well. But let's actually recap this the best way we know how with everybody's favorite segment, Studs and Duds. One player in this series that was really, really good. We want to give flowers to. One that was really not great. And we do want to criticize. And we mean it all with love. Let's just say that, okay? Before anybody attacks us. Just saying that. Frank, I will go to you on your stud for this series. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually going to give the guy you mentioned a little while ago. I would go with Mark Vientos only because, like you mentioned, it's been such a struggle for him. And to see him get that big 3 RBI hit in game 1 was huge because we talked about the struggles with runners in scoring positions. And he is one of the top culprits. I mean, he is up there with like the worst when it comes to runners scoring position. And the worst part of it is where they bat him in the order. So they have him batting second when they're facing lefties. If they're facing a righty, they're batting him fifth after Alonso. So he's struggling with men on base, yet he's in these spots in the order where you really need someone who's good with men on. And he was great last year. So we've been watching him struggle and continuously fail. I'm pretty sure earlier in the game is when he slammed the bat down and just like broke it because it was
getting
so
bad.
much. Yeah, it was just so much frustration. There's talks like do DFA him because there's no minor league options left. Can't play the field, can't run. Like he could feel the pressure. Like it's visible. And to see him get that big 3 RBI hit was nice. He ended up with 2 hits the next day. He got a hit the day after. So hopefully, I mean, this is the start of him breaking out of it. Not saying he's going to be the last year's level. If he is, amazing. But he just, like we said, needs to be above average because what you're getting from the rest of these guys, as far as catcher, center field, and some other infielders, they're not giving you anything. So, like, you need Vientos to be providing something because you're not going to get it from these other spots. If it's not the Fab Four and both your DHs are hurt now, like, he needs to step up.
The Fab Four.
What the boss called him.
Yeah, that's what the boss caught him. Yeah, he's been actually pretty vocal this last week on Twitter, and I've kind of gotten a little bit annoyed on that.
Yeah, it's like
either way,
it's like, come on, are you that sensitive? Like you don't got like billions of dollars you can go count or something. You want to be like, oh, exactly. Everyone's real quiet today, and then they lose and play like crap, and then you all of a sudden you don't got nothing to say either. Like, dude, come on.
You don't need to be the billionaire version of me on Twitter. All right, that's basically.
But he's the opposite. He's only there when something positive happens. You're like there when negative stuff.
Hey,
happens.
that's just as toxic. All right, that's just as toxic. Anybody who's a positive about this team, yuck, disgusting. Tony, I'll go to you. Do you have a stud you want to point out in this Kansas City series?
Yeah, I do. I have a question, though. Can it be the New York Review Center? Because how they call Bobby Witt Jr. out on that stolen base attempt on Saturday is so ridiculous. I mean,
yeah.
I'm talking to Royal fans while I'm at the stadium, and even I'm saying to them, if they overturn this, I'm sorry. Like, I don't feel right about it. That was so crazy. That obviously changed the game. It could easily be Edwin Diaz, but I'm actually going to give it to Reed Garrett because I'm not sure they win Friday or Saturday's game without him. He comes in to Friday's game and pitches a scoreless 8th inning with a strikeout after the Mets had just taken that lead back 4-3. Then obviously they pile on a little more, but that was a really big shutdown inning for them there. Then they obviously add more so they don't have to go to Edwin Diaz for the 9th, which is great. But then on Saturday, he comes in the 6th after Montas gives up back-to-back doubles. The Royals make it a 1-run game, and he does have the pickoff attempt to second that advances India to third. So, yeah, that's Garrett's fault for throwing it into center field, but then gets Bobby Witt Jr. to pop out, gets Pasquantino, I think, to strike out, and then gets Michael Garcia on, I think, a ground ball. So, really great job from Reed Garrett. I honestly think that if the Royals tie that game on Saturday when it was 2-1, runner at third, nobody out, that they probably end up going on to win that game. As you know, the Mets obviously just scratch out one more run in the 9th from Jeff McNeil. So could easily be Edwin Diaz for his performance Saturday with the 6-out save, but I think Reed Garrett was crucial to both wins Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that I would put on here is the guy that we're going to talk about next in the stud category, without being Sean Manaea, even though he's kind of the reason we lost statistically, but no, he was not. Either way, Sean Manaea, great performance. We'll get into that in a second. But if there's anybody else you guys want to mention here, because again, they had a few solid performers here. Again, the pitching was very, very good. I was impressed with what we saw from Montas. Would have liked to get 6 out of him, but it wasn't it wasn't meant to be because we've seen a lot of these guys get completely gassed the way that they have. But I think the dud category, again, we've talked about the quality of play. Frank, I can swing this one right back to you of who you would put in the dud category for this Kansas City series.
It has to be a guy that you tweeted about not that long ago, Brett Beatty. I mean, he went hitless in this series. He's a guy that they need him to be a starter because his counterpart Acuna is even worse. So, like we said, it's like these guys have got to step up because we talked about last episode, but there is not AAA depth that they could turn to right now for the position players. So the guys that are here are the guys that need to play well. And Brett Beatty has not been playing well lately. You might get like a hit from him every now and then. It's like the bluest of blue moons at this point because he's below league average. And that's with him having that super hot stretch where he's hitting a bunch of home runs and stuff like that. He's still below league average. So it's been a frustrating watch. He's back to hitting the ball on the ground too much. It's not a good experience for anybody. And when you, like I said, you already have Torrens in here, you already have Taylor in here, and Taylor actually had a couple decent at bats, but when you have those guys there on a nightly basis, you can't have another one. It's just very hard to win. You're asking so much out of this top four that when they don't produce, you're not winning.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Tony, if there's somebody you want to throw under the bus here.
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime I get a chance to throw Brett Beatty under the bus, I'm going to take it. Let me just add, by the way, doesn't come through with the sacrifice fly yesterday. Who would have guessed that Jared Young would actually do it there in the ninth? So another bad job by Beatty there in the ninth yesterday. But I'm going to go with Huascar Brazovan just because, obviously, the blow-up inning there in the bottom of the seventh, I think it was, the second pitch of the at-bat to Bobby Witt Jr., absolute no-doubter. So that was disappointing. And, you touched on it before, Carson, where these guys have had to be depended on so often in these high leverage, high octane situations. Him and Reed Garrett, you can attribute their struggles recently directly to having to be put into those situations so often. But it's just a Jekyll and Hyde situation with Brazoban right now, because you look at the win on Tuesday in extras, and he goes 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 10th to strand them, their ghost runner at second, preserve a 1-run win for the Mets on the road. Fantastic job. And then he comes in the seventh inning, hadn't pitched, I don't believe, in 2 days because of the rain out and doubleheader on Thursday, and he just looked horrible on Friday and very nearly cost them the opening game of this series. So we'll get into the deadline later, but I think one of the biggest keys is getting a very, very high leverage reliever that will hopefully bump Huascar Brazoban down a spot or two in the pecking order of this bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I apply it so much to the offense of everything, putting these relievers in this situation. But with Brazoban, I mean, there is nobody that needs this 4-day break more than him, I'd say, because he has been worked like a dog. He has been worked into the ground. I'm surprised that he has stayed healthy throughout these first 97 games, and I hope that he continues to stay healthy because he is a key part of this bullpen. But yes, obviously pushing him down the pecking order would be nice. Obviously picking up with a lot of these relievers too, trying to pick up the slack from AJ Minter being done for the season is another one of these keys with this bullpen that you expect to be a house of cards situation and be very, very inconsistent. And that's why relievers are relievers, because they're inconsistent. They're failed starters for a reason. One guy that I feel like it got completely glossed over in this series in Kansas City, I'm going to give the dud to Pete Alonso because it was just not a great series from him. I know that they were pitching around him a lot, but we were also seeing a decent amount of these ABs, lots of swings and misses, lots of chases. I'm pretty sure he was 1 for 10 in this series. There really wasn't much. Let's see. Yeah, 1 for 10 in this series, 3 plate appearances. He had a couple of walks in there. But again, there was a lot of situations, like we said, runners in scoring position, combined of what you were seeing from the Mets and the Royals. We all know who our main run producer is. Pete Alonso is not coming through in plenty of these situations as well. And, it goes to the offense. And listen, I know Pete Alonso has had a really good season, and how dare I slander his name of the great polar bear, but not the great way that I was expecting this last week into the All-Star break from Pete Alonso. I know he had that big home run in Baltimore, but other than that, it's been a little bit quiet. We knew that he was going to cool off from that, amazing start that he had. But he's definitely a big part of this offense. The cleanup hitter gets a lot of these opportunities, and that's that. Let's just say that. But anyways, speaking of some other performances we can go into, I do want to do a little bit of a rundown with Manaea because he just made his 2025 debut. yesterday in the finale of this series. He ended up giving up the winning run. It's all his fault, Sean Manaea. But, however, I do want to get into a rundown of what we saw from Sean in his return, because it was a really, really impressive return to the mound after we see it's the return of the... Yeah, you like it, Frank? You like that? Yep. There you go.
It's tribal chief specifically, but
hey, I ran out of room, man. I ran out of room. There's only a certain amount of letters I can put in that part of the graphic with these things. Anyways, he faced 15 batters, 3 1/3 innings pitched, obviously pitched into the 9th, came into the 6th inning to relieve Clay Holmes and piggyback off of his start. 5 hits, 1 earned run, but the main focus here, 7 strikeouts. He retired 5 in a row at one point. He was getting ahead in the count, 13 swings and misses. We all know that he does not have the best stuff, but he has a lot of deception from that low slot that he kind of inspired from Chris Sale. Was that maybe a factor into his injury? Only time will tell, I guess. But he threw a first pitch strike to 12 of the 15 batters that he faced. A call, strike, and whiff, which is a percentage that is seen for control and command, 40%, which is near elite, obviously. But that's just out of 65 pitches. We know that he re-signed with the Mets on a 3-year, $75 million contract, very wealthy contract, the highest paid pitcher on the staff right now over the offseason. He's been on the injured list with a right oblique strain since the beginning of spring training. And he also had a few setbacks as well. We saw that there was some loose bodies in his left elbow that he will be pitching through, and it doesn't seem he needs surgery. So there's definitely been a lot that's been going on with Sean Manaea over these past few months, but it's great to see him back on the mound once again. Lots of fastball usage, sweeper usage as well. He threw 1 changeup and 1 slider. That was it, but it didn't seem like he needed that many weapons because the Royals were just flailing at pretty much everything for those 3 innings. So great to have Sean Manaea back. He'll obviously be worked back into the rotation. Tony, I will go to you first on some takeaways from Sean Manaea of what we saw. Definitely a great return. Breath of fresh air, let's just say that, compared to some of the starting pitching we've been getting over this past month.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about as successful of a return as you could have expected from a guy that hasn't pitched in, 4 months, pretty much since March, with the exception of his minor league rehab assignment. So I was thrilled with it. You saw the fastball up in the zone. That was really impressive. Ron Darling said during the broadcast, like, that high fastball, when he's able to elevate the location of it, just kind of feels like it explodes. And like you said, Carson, is just very deceptive, along with all of his breaking ball stuff as well. So I am thrilled with what we saw from him. 5 strikeouts in a row, 1.7 overall, 13 whiffs on 65 pitches. You also mentioned the number of first pitch strikes he threw to the amount of batters that he faced. I was absolutely juiced by it. And I guess now the next step is to actually start a game. That will be the plan now moving forward. How this is all going to work with Senga also similarly returning from about a month off, and the whole deal with him still needing 5 days of rest between starts. I think it's actually a blessing in disguise for this team, because we obviously got to monitor the situation with Clay Holmes as well, as his innings continue to go up this year. So really, and we'll get into it, it's crucial the Mets find another starting pitcher at the trade deadline, with, of course, Griffin Canning done and Paul Blackburn being ass cheeks. Sorry, I don't know if I could say that word. But anyway.
No, you're all good.
Anyway. Yeah.
Carson said much worse.
Okay, good. Well, to get back just specifically to Manaea, though, I thought it was a very impressive performance. Anybody that is going to try to pin that loss on him is not a very smart baseball fan at all. So very, very happy with what we saw.
Like I've said, when there's 2 runs on the board, it's kind of hard to blame the pitching when that happens, especially when they were hitting for 8 innings in that game. Jose saying in here, before I go over to Frank, saying Manaea pitched great. He just made one mistake throwing a breaking ball to that last batter he faced instead of throwing his dominant fastball that he had. Yeah, I mean, listen, pitch selection, it happens. Sometimes you miss. But like I said, offense has got to be a little bit better than they were in that game. What was it? They were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position in that game? One for
That's
eight,
the
one
usual
for
stat line. I mean,
the
they're always
usual.
earning a million.
one
One
for
for
this, two
seven,
for
but
that.
who cares? One for
But they
seven.
left 8
7.
on base.
Yeah.
Oh, sick, nice. Yeah, so that's definitely a bigger culprit
2
than
double plays.
what happened.
And
Yeah,
oh, by the way,
obviously.
it was Hayden Sanger catching for him at that point because Beatty came in a pinch hit for Terrence in the ninth.
Ah, there you go.
So I don't know if-
Hartfield's guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who was calling the pitches, if Manaea does already, himself, or if it was coming from the dugout, or if it came from Sanger. But that's a little wrinkle to, as far as the pitch selection for that inning.
God. What are we going to do without Tomas Nido going forward?
Who knows?
What else?
I wonder if the Mets actually did score there, if they might have gone to a different pitcher in the ninth, or they said no matter what, like, Manaea, you're finishing this game. I feel like that's something that's kind of interesting too, is that I wonder if he
Yeah.
was kind of like sitting in the dugout like, am I going back
Well,
out
Diaz
there? Maybe
was-
I'm not. 'Cause
Yeah,
Diaz was not available.
Diaz wasn't
2 innings the day
available.
before. I mean, a lot of these other guys, we talk about Reed was working a lot.
Yeah, Garrett was gassed throughout those two
know.
first.
I mean,
those two first
I mean,
games,
Brazaban,
yeah.
like I said, he's been worked hard. So, like, unless you go to one of these no names, I mean, even Davinsky, I'm pretty sure he worked 2 nights in a row. At that
Yeah.
point, the keyword games 1 and 2. So
They limited the usage of Stanek
As
as well
they
in
should.
this series.
As they should,
and
because
they
he's
should have
been-
after what we saw in
Yeah,
Baltimore
brutal.
for the leash that they gave him of him facing 7 batters and walking 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But Frank, I'll go to you for the takeaways from Manaea again. Great first
Mm-hmm.
impression in 2025 for the highest paid pitcher on the staff this season. By the way,
Yeah,
for those
I
of you who
mean-
don't remember.
I'm very interested by his pitch selection for this start. I mean, he threw 6 pitches last year. Yesterday, he didn't throw his sinker or throw his cutter. He used the fastball at a 66% clip, which last year was like low 30s. So he really changed up his pitch mix. Then he went sweeper 31% of the time. So he ditched 2 pitches, and then his other 2, he only threw them 2% of the time. So he looked like a reliever, like fastball sweeper. Like, this is what you would get out of your prototypical left-handed reliever who's throwing from that arm slot, fastball sweeper. And it worked really effectively for him. I mean, you saw the amount of strikeouts, and he did that without walking anybody, which was one of Manaea's biggest issues before he switched that arm slot, was that he could not throw a strike. So we saw the warm-ups he used to do. He used to warm up from like a different spot of the mound and throw across to then get it to be a strike. So for him to not walk anybody either in his first start with that adrenaline going, that was the thing I was most surprised by, is that he didn't walk anybody. But he struck out this many batters, like Tony mentioned, 5 in a row. I mean, other than Senga, has any starter on this team struck out 5 guys in a row? I mean, not that I could think of, because they just haven't been able to do that. I mean, even Holmes, someone who was a reliever, he has not had high strikeout numbers. He's trying to get the ground balls, and he did that yesterday as well. So I think for Manaea, just kind of monitoring that, like, okay, well, when he does get to start, what is that pitch selection going to be? Like, is the sinker and cutter just about ditched? Is he not used the changeup and slider much? Or is he going to strictly be mostly fastball sweeper? And, the fastball is on one side of the plate and the sweeper's on the other side. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like, it's going to be matchup dependent, because, that kind of sweeper is not going to be as effective to the righties as was to the lefties with the way it breaks. So, like, there's going to be other things that go into it. But the game plan that he went with, it was very, very effective. So I'm just very curious to see, like, are they going to continue to make these tweaks? Because he made some adjustments last season, and you saw a different pitcher in the second half. So are they trying to, like, continue this change of, like, oh, we're going to try this now and try that, and then see what kind of pitcher you get?
Yeah, I'm trying to see of what arm slot he was throwing at. We knew it was like in the 20s, but I believe from what I saw, it was like 19-degree arm angle, which I don't know. Again, we don't know if that's what led to the injury. That's what has been going on with the setbacks or whatever.
So,
but,
I mean, Baseball
Yeah.
Savant says, I guess they average it among the arm slots. It came out to like low 20s in 2024. They said it was 22. Meanwhile,
so
in
in the
2023,
20s,
it was 28. So,
yeah, true. That and then just lowering it the way they did. But I think again you're gonna see like those outlier starts. We thought that there was adjustments
in 2021,
being made.
it was 33. So, I mean, he's gone through. He already had dropped it to begin with.
He has,
and then they dropped it even more.
Yeah. So, again, this was a good showing from Sean Manaea. Hopefully it is more to come. Great to have him back. Obviously, we expect his final his next outing to be obviously 4 days of off, 4 days of off, probably a little bit more rest, but the next outing we hope that it is in the rotation, so we do not have to be seeing a Justin Hagenman make a start or Brandon Waddell make a start anymore. And that's all really they had to hold up for at that current moment. But either way, great outing from Sean Manaea. He looked really sharp. Great to have him back once again. And I think all of us talked about what was this going to sustain to what we saw last year? But to see him for the first test here, basically look like he didn't even skip a beat whatsoever, definitely encouraging. So we'll see the utilization of the pitches. Is there another way that he goes at it when he faces a different type of team? I'm sure. But he was facing, I think, let's see. Yesterday, he faced. I think he faced a good amount of right-handed hitters. Like he definitely did. So again, it's all about the the deception, like we have said, what is the key to Sean Manaea, and he's just got to locate. And hopefully he does stay healthy. Hopefully he stays back, because it definitely is a key to this rotation. And another key to this rotation, like I've said before, they do need to add into this rotation. Obviously, with Senga not giving you as much volume as you expected him compared to what he was doing in his rookie year 2 years ago. Clay Holmes laboring through 5 innings as much as he has, even though he has been quality, not giving you the distance. The only guy that has been giving you volume has been David Peterson. And then you also have, the add-on of, even, Griffin Canning is done for the year. You have,
and he wasn't giving volume even when he was healthy.
He wasn't giving you much volume either. Yeah. So, again, they need to get a guy who can give you 6 on a typical day. We've talked about multiple guys already. I'm sure there's some ideas that some people have in the chat right now. But I do want to get into the main event of what we will be talking about. Frank, is there anything else?
Yeah, one more thing with Manaea and this Arsenal. I wonder, too, it could be one of those things where if you have a plan of attack and you're going fastball sweeper and you're having great success, you might be saving those pitches. You might be like, well, wait a minute, if I'm getting all these strikeouts with these 2 pitches, why would I show these hitters something else? So once you...
Or maybe the Royals just suck. Who knows?
That's certainly possible, but it could be something where, like, as you're going through more times in the order, they've seen you. Now you throw the other pitches. Now you show them something different. It could be a chess match. I mean, it's such a small sample size that we can't say, oh, this is Arsenal for the rest of the season. He's not allowed to throw those other 2 pitches, and he's not allowed to throw these. There's still so many things that could happen, but I just found it very fascinating that this is what we saw. Just like that was how it came out.
I mean,
it was very.
I guess it's just, the 2 deceptions between both pitches, which usually you add a cutter in there, but from the left side, from that deception,
is one of the pitches he did.
For him.
He did not use
which is one of the pitches he didn't use. 13 of the whiffs were on his fastball, 3 of them against his sweeper. So again, it should be interesting to see, but we all know that it's more of just the deception than anything that makes Sean Manaea as good of a pitcher as he is, and hopefully he can sustain it. Because again, from that it's an unorthodox type of windup that he does have. So it's not going to be something to just say, well, he's going to guarantee us that he's going to go out there for 6 innings. It's going to take a little bit of while before he gives you some of that volume and he gets a little bit more stretched out and stays healthy. Now, speaking of some health, we have some injury news that I think my co-host right here that we will get into. Some unfortunate, some encouraging that we have here on the injury report. So Frank, it is all yours. I will give you the mic. What do we got going on with the people that are hurt?
Yeah, so first up, we got Daniel Nunez, Mets reliever, will undergo Tommy John surgery later this week after receiving multiple opinions from doctors. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that it is still unclear if Nunez will undergo the traditional Tommy John surgery procedure, including the internal brace. After battling arm injuries throughout a majority of last season, the 29-year-old right-hander will be undergoing his second Tommy John of his career. Jose Butto, Mets reliever, will begin a rehab assignment for low A Port St. Lucie tomorrow night and could possibly rejoin the major league team by next weekend if all goes well. The 27-year-old right-hander was placed on the 15-day injury list on July 4th due to an undisclosed illness. Max Kranick, Mets reliever, saw a doctor earlier this week and is still searching for more opinions regarding his elbow. Mets manager specified that Tommy John surgery is a possibility for Kranick. The 27-year-old right-hander was placed on the 15-day injury list on June 19th due to a right elbow strain. Jesse Winker, Mets outfielder / designated hitter, will receive medicinal treatment for the next 4 to 7 days before a decision is made for the need of a PRP injection. Mets manager stated that Winker's back injury has no relation to the previous injury he missed multiple months with. The 31-year-old was placed on the injury list early this week with back inflammation after just being activated on Tuesday from a right oblique strain he suffered back in May. So we already lost Danny Young to the Tommy John.
Yeah.
Now you lost Daniel Nunez. Max Kranick might be up next. I mean, yikes. That is just not what you want to see from all your relievers. It's just super unfortunate that, I mean, we know that is how pitching is nowadays, but man, it just really, really stinks because they're out. Like, it's not, oh, well, they'll be back. It's like, nope, see you next year. Like, you already got enough of that. You don't want more of these.
Yeah. It's gotten brutal, let's just say, in the injury department. I mean, if you were to look at, I'm going on Fangraphs right now, the list of pitchers that this team has on the shelf long term is just it's quite a dent in the pitching depth. Let's just say that. I mean, it's rough. Let's just say that. And there's some things that they do need to consider going into this deadline. And hopefully they do find a way to figure it out. Again, I don't think retooling the entire roster is something that they're going to end up doing, but there are some moves that they're going to have to make in order to deepen the pitching staff. And there definitely has to be some point of emphasis with it, because even though there are some things with this offense that they do need to change, the pitching staff is bleeding a lot. And it's not just because of the lack of consistency or some guys are struggling. It's the fact that they are just not healthy. There is a lot of guys out, and going past Kodai Senga and going past Sean Manaea, doesn't look like anybody else is coming back besides maybe Jose Butto and Brooks Raley, and that's bullpen arms. So if they treat them like additions, then I'm going to be a little bit scared in that way. But Jose Butto, did we figure out what the illness was, or are they just going to still disclose it? They're just going to say that, no, he just licked a sidewalk, got sick, and that's it.
Maybe
I don't
he
know.
sniffed the foul line, because apparently that is extremely important. Maybe that's what he did.
Exactly.
Because maybe it's contagious, because that's the only thing that people really care about. Gone are the days of power grades and fielding grades and plate discipline. All that stuff doesn't matter. You sniff a foul line, everyone loves you. Listen, I mean, he better hit, because if that's all we got to go by, yikes. I mean, we've had that before where, he's got so much energy. But you got to get to third base first before you sniff it.
Let me say this about the Jesse Winker injury. It's obviously very disappointing. I mean, dude missed like 55 games. He gets in for one game and one at bat, and then it's like, see you in September, maybe, if we're lucky. Like, back is
maybe
very concerning. So as far as the deadline goes, David Stearns needs to operate almost under the assumption that Jesse Winker is not going to come back this year.
He should. And also with Marte, like, is this the same knee from last year that was barking like all season long? Because he really should be going under the impression that, like, he's at either one of these DHs, because with how old Marte is, and with Winker, like you said, Tony, he was out, we don't know why, for so long. As soon as he's back, gone. Like, you cannot trust either one of these guys going forward. And we've talked about this before, but when you get so close to the deadline, you can't say, maybe I'll have them back second half, because they have a setback, deadline already passed. You're done. Because we used the example with DeGrom a few years ago. We're like, Jacob DeGrom is about to be back. Then we found out he's not back, not coming back, and we couldn't make a trade for a pitcher. It was too late. They cannot do that with this position.
Well, we got Trevor Williams.
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, look, we came into this year with the expectation that Mark Vientos was going to be similar to what he did for us last year, a 25 home run bat. Third base was going to be fine, and that we would get a step forward from Brett Beatty or maybe from Ronnie Mauricio. So far, 0 for 3 on all those fronts for the most part, with the exception of a little, here and there from each of them. You can't now lose the guy that was supposed to be your designated hitter more nights than not, because he's the right-handed side of that platoon against right-handed pitching and Jesse Winker. And then, oh, by the way, Starling Marte, like you said, Frank, is also out. And who knows at 36 years old how long it's going to take for him to eventually come back. We cannot have Jared Young on this roster for any longer than we already have had to watch that guy. Okay. So I really, truly believe they need to be serious about getting another bat. And that was before Jesse Winker went down again. I already was saying it's got to either be at third base or in center field. Now with Jesse Winker, again, I think potentially done until September, and that's best case scenario. You'd really got to slam the pedal to the metal and, be prepared to go out there and get a big-time bat, because this lineup doesn't have enough otherwise.
Yeah, we've talked about it from third base, and we've talked about it from center field, obviously as the two departments that we've considered as bats. We asked you guys in the chat of if the Mets don't add at third base, who would you want being the starting third baseman? And we have 55% of you guys saying that you want Mauricio, 45% of you saying you want Beatty, and 0% of you want Vientos. So I think we all know that it's probably just coming from the defensive standpoint that Vientos is a complete stone
bias
hands.
Is real. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Do that poll like last year and see what the percentages are. Vientos at 0. I know he's a butcher there, but 0?
Yeah.
I mean, like, the playoffs mean nothing.
Nobody wants him.
I mean,
nobody wants Mark Vientos at third base anymore. Recency bias is real. It is.
Well, look,
exactly.
Ronnie's not a guy exactly these magical feet. I mean, I got to be honest with you. He's made some nice plays, but he's not exactly the magician over there at third.
We don't need a magician. We need somebody who can actually, like, I don't know, not be stupid. That's what I'm asking. Not be stupid. You know?
And look, there's an avenue to where the Mets could actually solve some of these issues internally. I don't think it's the way they go. I think the Mets end up dealing one of those three guys at this year's deadline to solve an issue at a different
If they don't,
position.
I'll be very confused. I will be.
I would be too. But let's just say, hypothetically playing this out, Mark Vientos starts to look a little more like he did in 2024, like what we saw this weekend from him in Kansas City. Well, the designated hitter role is up for grabs now, so maybe that's where he goes, and then you can prioritize the defense at third base with Beatty or Mauricio. One of the others goes in a trade to potentially improve center field to a degree. Obviously, they're not headlining a package, but they're part of one with some prospects. If we're talking, Duran's probably off the table at this point with how Boston's playing. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but yeah, I mean, it's all really dependent. And this is how Stearns entered the 2025 season. Again, expecting that Vientos was going to repeat last year. He was going to be the franchise cornerstone at third base for the next decade, and that he'd get at least a little bit of a step forward from Beatty or from Mauricio. None of those things have really, truly been cemented here so far.
Yeah, it's definitely a department of just a surplus of infielders that we knew were going to get a decent amount of playing time. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about, well, they're all getting scattered playing time, so how can they do anything consistently? It's like, I mean, we're getting good enough samples of these guys. Like they're going out there and they're giving us a decent amount of sample. They've gotten the leeway of basically resignated at the bottom part of this lineup, and it's been inconsistent. I do think that there needs to be a consistent lineup, and we've talked about that before, but again, it's the playing time. I think somebody in the chat said it was D saying Acuna is getting dealt. I think Acuna is one of the likely ones to get dealt. Again, they're going to have to figure this out, because you can't just use internal pieces and prospects as depth. Like that just can't happen. Like these guys need to play every day in order to give you that type of value that they're capable of, because either way you're going to be stunting the growth of the player. And even if they are contributing, or what they are, able to give you, it's just not fair to the young kids. Like it just isn't, to constantly see them rotate in and out. Oh, well, you're going to compete with another prospect. You're not going to be pushed by anybody else but a prospect, and it's just going to see both of those departments struggle. We saw Acuna get sent down. We saw Alvarez get sent down. Who knows what the next move is going to be? I'm sure Alvarez will be up here within the next month. I don't know when that is going to be, but they are going to have to make some decisions. And we've talked about it throughout the entire year of who goes and who stays, who is a future part to this team. And I think that it really does come down to now to the trade deadline for a guy like Mark Vientos, because if he doesn't hit, he's not going to give you any value. And this is his biggest chance to give you something. He needs to give you something because Marte, Winker are out. We don't know how long they will be out, but they're definitely going to be out for quite a bit, probably to the trade deadline. So Mark is going to have to show something to show value to this roster, because if not, he's going to be looked at as one of the pieces that come out of that are out of here. Same goes for Beatty. Same goes for Acuna. I think Mauricio has a little bit more of a leash because he was not here for a good amount of the time, especially last year, was out for the entire year. So I think that Mauricio is probably going to stay out of all of these young guys. But I would, Beatty, Vientos, Acuna, all of those guys are definitely on the table. And I think there's so many different likely scenarios where they're out of here. And they could be one of the pieces for one of the headline trades they make in the deadline. And I will be very confused if all of these young guys are still here. I will be very, very confused. I got it last year. I understand of what you wanted to see, what you wanted to have of, also with a lot of the young guys of how hurt they were. Jet Williams was hurt, and Acuna was even banged up, and Gilbert was hurt, and all of these guys were hurt. I understand that. I get that,
Jesus
and I understood
Baez.
it. I understood the need for Blackburn and Brazaban and all of that at the trade deadline last year. But if we have a different level, the same level of trade deadline this year than we did last year with Juan Soto on the roster, that is when I'm going to start to question, what are we actually doing here internally? Like, that's what I want. That's when I'm going to start to question. Right now, I'm letting them go through it because the pitching has been going through a lot of shit. It's been crazy. The lineup, there's not really many moves that you can make as of right now. But once you get closer and closer to that deadline, they're going to have to pull the trigger on something and make a decision.
Yeah, and I just said this on Till Mets Do Us Parts podcast, so I'm sorry if I'll come off as redundant here, but I do believe we're going to see some of those young baby Mets, as they've been dubbed, dealt at this year's deadline. I think there will be some big shaking moves from David Stearns. Last year, number one, don't actually believe David Stearns believed in that roster last year, despite the turnaround that began in June. So he gave you a couple little things to kind of appease the masses, but I don't think David Stearns truly believed they were going to get to Game 6 of the LCS last year, and that's why it was underwhelming. But number two, they have had 4 different general managers since 2020, going from Brody Van Wagenen to Jared Young, or Porter, excuse me, I can't get my Jareds right. They're both equally terrible.
These are 2 different guys right there.
Yeah, both equally terrible for different reasons, but Jared Porter to Zach Scott to Billy Epler. Think about all the different guys they have each individually picked and brought into this farm system.
And Sandy multiple times.
And with Sandy at the helm and whatever type of role he was in when Cohen came into ownership of the team. My whole point is it's now been a year and a half plus for David Stearns to evaluate and assess this farm system and make a decision on, this guy is someone I see as a part of the long-term future of this team. This is a guy that I think is expendable in a trade to improve the current roster of 25 and potentially even beyond. So I think it's going to be an active trade deadline for David Stearns this year.
Yeah, but we'll see what they do. Again, I don't think they're going to completely retool the roster and we're going to see 10 additions. But if I had to guess, I would say they do end up getting a bat that is either a third baseman or a center fielder, which is basically the departments that we would say is the most of emphasis. I'd say that they're going to get a third baseman or a center fielder. I don't think they're going to get both. So everybody's saying, oh, well, get Suarez and Robert. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I think that there's going to be a starting pitcher, and then I think there's going to be a depth reliever and a reliever that can replace the role that you got from Minter. So 4 main additions that I think are going to happen at this trade deadline. I think that one of those relievers will be in the next week or so, because that's usually when relievers go off, is like, a week before the trade deadline, or, 2 weeks before the trade deadline. But I think that you're going to have 4 key additions from what you saw compared to last year. And I'm hoping that that does get fulfilled. If they do miss in one department, then we're going to have to cross our fingers that, Marfientos does something, or Frankie Montas is, he can give us 7 innings at some point, which I don't think he's capable of doing. We'll see how they address it, because there are some guys in those certain positions that could be available. D-Rail's saying here in the reliever department, Chapman, it has been said by Jeff Passan today that Roldis Chapman will not be moved, especially with how good the Red Sox are doing.
Yeah, the Red Sox are buying.
The Red Sox are steaming hot right now.
Yeah. They're buying.
Yeah, they're like 10. They won 10 in a row.
Stop. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're buying.
Up until about a week ago, Chapman was my number 1 pick for an addition at the deadline. Obviously, that changes with Boston winning 10 in a row. But also, it's pretty apparent that David Stearns is going to treat Brooks Raley as the left-handed addition to this bullpen.
It probably could be.
And
I do want another reliever, because I don't want to add in.
I
don't want to add in. Oh, well, we got.
We shouldn't be depending on a guy that is coming off of Tommy John surgery. And yes, his minor league rehab assignment numbers, they've been really good, but there's no guarantee that that's going to translate to the big league level, or that he's not going to get hurt again.
He's almost older than me, though. Like, this is not a smart move.
I agree. I personally feel that it's also a lock that Clay Holmes is going to be added to the bullpen, if
it's possible,
not by
very,
September.
very possible.
Because even think about it, play it out. If the Mets make it to October, well, when you're in a playoff series, you only throw your top 3 starting pitchers anyway. I'm personally, if they're all healthy, going right, very comfortable with Senga, Manaea, David Peterson as your 3 starters, and that leaves no role for Holmes anyway. So if you're including Holmes,
you need 4. They use at least 4.
You kind of need. I think the way that they need to address this trade deadline is find somebody to start Game 3. Find somebody that can start Game 3 or Game 4.
Maybe Montas is your 4. Maybe, if all goes well.
Maybe I've seen him blow up in the playoffs many times.
They paid him to be that guy, though. You have to look at what they paid.
They absolutely did.
You paid Montas to be that guy, replace Sevy or Quintana, take your pick. They both are in starting rotation in the playoffs. But for Clay Holmes to end up in the bullpen, I thought we don't give multi-year deals to relievers, especially Stearns.
Yeah. True, but translating him back to the reliever set, I mean, he's a lot different of a pitcher than he was as a reliever, so that could be something that they do consider.
Now
Montas, maybe he does come out of the rotation
just to re-experiment. Like,
I understand that, but again, Clay Holmes is getting paid like a starting pitcher 5. So is Frankie Montas. Actually, no, Clay Holmes is getting paid like a expected back end reliever. And Montas is getting paid like a starting pitcher 5. So again, it's return in value. It makes sense if they were to bring like Montas to the bullpen. Obviously, they still need to get to the playoffs first before we make that decision. Yeah. But we'll see how they do make those decisions. But again, I would like to see them replace Minter, and I also would like to see them get me like another Huskar Brazaban that could be like the middle relief or the long relief or something like that, because right now at this current bullpen, yes, you could put Brooks Raley back in the equation, but you're looking at Chris Deviansky here. You have Richard Lovelady in there, Alex Carrillo, who I think has good stuff, but he's not a postseason ready type of arm. Then you also have Brandon Waddell, who's in the bullpen right now. You have Richard Lovelady. Did I say him? I don't know. And then you have Huskar Brazaban, who you've worked like a dog.
How many of these guys can be by the end of the regular season? I mean, they already got rid of Lovelady, brought him
there
back.
There could be one of those guys still here. That's what I'm saying. If you don't add another depth reliever.
I'd be shocked if one of those guys made it to the season.
If you don't add another depth reliever and someone gets hurt, obviously you have Budo back in the formula too, but it's again, like I'm saying, get somebody who you can have ready, either is in AAA or someone who can be a middle relief type of guy. Get me a Michael Givens plus an actual legitimate reliever that you can add to the bullpen. Who is that going to be? We'll see. I just don't want to say, well, we have Brooks Raley coming back. He has a left hand, and he can throw with his left hand like AJ Minter. He'll be the eighth inning guy.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
I agree, and I feel the same exact way. I unfortunately just do think that is David Stearns' mentality. That is how he's going to treat it. And I feel like he is now. We're basically like, look, we need a legit high leverage back at the end type of arm. Yeah. I think the Mets are going to be locked into looking at only right-handers, though, because of that. It's either, and look, trust me, I'm still saying, like, give me Felix Bautista, give me Jake Bird or Seth Halverson from Colorado. I want that type of arm. But I think it has to be a right-hander. And again, not my personal opinion. I just think that is how Stearns is going to operate with the return of Raley as the lefty.
I knew Frank would star that comment. Go ahead, put it up. You can put it up if you want.
You know, when you say Fairbanks, my eyes light up like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. I would like that a lot.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would because they're competing too. Like, I don't think it would happen. Listen, I'm hoping that the Royals can sag off and we can get another shot at my man Lucas Erceg, who's been ridiculous this year. By the way,
they tried to break him before he got here. What did he pitch all 3 days in this series?
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh, I know he's good, but geez.
He's a beast. He's a freaking beast. I tried telling everyone this man's a beast, and then the Royals get him, and he's still just as dominant. Oh man, I would love that because that is an eighth inning guy right there. The main thing about with getting this replacement for AJ Minter, it's not really just the fact that we need a high leverage piece. It's also the fact that we need to take some of the weight off the shoulders of Reed Garrett and Huskar Brazaban, who have been basically ran into the ground, especially when we were seeing it a lot from these other arms like Danel Nunez, who just got hurt and didn't pitch as much, but also Max Kranick. He was driven into the ground too. I mean, even Jose Budo, again, he licked a sidewalk. He got so dazed out. He licked a sidewalk, got an illness. So again, we'll see how they address that, but any other comments we can get into, because I do want to move to the main event of recapping this first half. But again, there's plenty of stuff that we can talk about as the deadline gets closer and closer. We're live 2 times a week, so for those of you who want to talk about the upcoming trade deadline, we'll have plenty of stuff to discuss. We've already gotten into some starting pitching options. We've talked about Mitch Keller before. Edward Cabrera has come up as somebody we've been linked to. Another guy that I feel like we might have to do a segment on, as Stanley is saying, maybe it's Luis Severino, possibly, because there's some pros and cons with bringing that back as well, and we'll see if they actually were to go for it. But there are pieces that could stabilize this rotation. The Mets do not need an ace, like we have said. They need a guy who can go out there and write in 6 innings. He needs to go out there and take some pressure off the rest of the rotation, take some pressure off of the bullpen as well. They need not an innings eater, but they need a strike thrower. They need someone who can go deep into games. This is another one we have talked about before many, many times that we've been linked to. Frank has banged the drum for him for years.
However many years we've had this show is how many years we've said we want.
I've been asking for him too.
He's been a free agent how many times now? Like every year we're like, oh, I'd like Evaldi. Oh, I'd like Evaldi, and just keeps going back to the Rangers. Like
I would love it. I would love that too. I think the opportunity for Nick Pivetta has passed. I was pushing for him. Everyone's like, oh, he's mid. Look at him now, huh? Yeah. Anyways, let's get into the main event. Like we said, let's recap this first half of baseball. 97 games. We have some awards to give out, or some superlatives, because there's first half awards for the MLB. That's the All-Star game. As we all know, some notable guys have gotten first half awards like the All-Star break. Yonder Alonso, let's not forget when he was an All-Star. James McCann was an All-Star at one point. Eduardo Escobar got an All-Star selection at one point. So this is a very important thing, and it ages fairly well into the bottom stretch of the season. But let's get into some first half awards. And I would say that maybe some of these go a little bit intertwined with each other, but we'll go as we go and go with the flow. Obviously, I'm known for rhyming. Most surprising, I will start with a guy who we expected to not be a big contributor, but was a lot better, or maybe someone on the other way. We expected him to be good, and it's been surprising that he sucks, but we also have most disappointing as another award to get into. But most surprising, Frank, I will swing it over to you. Who would you put most surprising so far through 97 games?
So this is the one that could be good or bad?
Good or bad. I would say probably good would be the consensus here, because we have most disappointing too. So most
Someone
surprising.
who's surprisingly good.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
there hasn't been too many like guys who were good that weren't good before to kind of go through. So
Or
that
someone
makes
who
it-
you didn't expect to be so great, but they were good.
Well, there's not many so greats either, so I can't really say that either.
I think there was a few. There's a decent selection.
I guess Canning, because I mean we were talking about like
good
worst
one.
pitcher in the American League last year, and you know he was starting to struggle a little bit before the injury, but all in all, I mean he gave you more than we probably would have thought considering the contract he got, the expectations. So it's a shame that his season ended early, so we don't know how it would have turned out. But I would say Canning for a while was a big surprise to me.
All
In a
right.
good way.
Okay. Tony, if you want to piggyback on that, we can do doubles, by the way, because there's definitely quite a few categories here that we got to go through. So what do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I'm gonna err on the positive side because like you were saying, the most surprising definitely could have been who I'll give for most disappointing later on. But I would otherwise go with Griffin Canning like you did, Frank. But I'll try and change it up, and I'll say Clay Holmes. And I'll just say it because the transition from being a reliever, obviously, that was like kind of far fetched. I think for a lot of us, like. You guys, I've seen your guys' more recent streams where it was like, we had Sevy and Quintana last year. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel here? And just didn't know how that transition would be for Clay Holmes, especially also coming from the other side of town with the Yankees. So, I mean, 3.31 ERA, and I'll just state that as the one stat here that I referenced. But he's taking the ball every fifth day. It hasn't always been the highest quality of starts, but more often than not, he's going out, he's going about 5 innings, and he's given us a chance to win with the exception of a few ugly ones here and there. So impressed with what we have gotten from Clay Holmes. You want to talk about stability, it's really been him and David Peterson this year, the two guys that have not missed a single turn through the rotation so far in 2025. So I'll say that's a little, I guess, surprising to me.
All right. So I think from this department, I mean, I had Griffin Canning here as well. I think if you have a constant fear of this happening, because my ego would get completely shattered. I mean, I guess I would have to say it's Jeff McNeil on my end. Because, I mean, I'm also surprised of how well he's held down center field. Because when I saw he was going to take reps in center field, I'm like, okay, here we go with the utility gimmick, the whole thing. Oh, he's this super utility guy, and he's so valuable. We're trying to prove so much. But he's actually been really good in center field. He hasn't been amazing, and I don't like putting an arm like his in... out there in the outfield, especially when you're adding on to Nimmo, who does not have the best arm whatsoever. So again, not the tools to be an outfielder, but he's been good. And then also at the plate, I wanted to see it sustain of this new stance, this new bat, this new mustache he's got. Everyone says he's got a new thing every year. So it's great to see him, benefit from the torpedo bat or the new stance or the new swing or whatever new thing that he's got. So it's definitely been surprising because I thought that he would be on his way out, but he's still here just to troll me. Anyways, let's get to a player who played as expected. Someone to your expectations. You knew he was going to be good. You knew he was going to be bad. And you're like, all right, here we go. This is what I expected, and it's no big deal, or it's, this is a guy right here. Frank, I'll go right back to you on this one. Somebody who played to the expectations. You knew that they'd be good or bad. It's whatever.
This is a tough one. I'll say, oh man, this this is a tough one because I'm so hard on everybody that
Yeah.
it's hard for me to say. I guess Lindor is probably a safe one. Like Francisco would be steady. He's like, can he not have a terrible April May and just do what he normally does? And he has. It's really a shame they got hit in the foot, and that's kind of tampered him off a little bit, not quite where he was. But overall, he's still turning out very solid numbers. Depending on how his foot is feeling, still has a shot at another 30-30. Like he's still, I mean, made the All-Star team the first time. As a Met, we're like, that's bound to happen. We've been saying it year after year. It finally happened this season. So I'd say overall, he's been about where I expected. Like he could be a little better, but I mean, overall, he's still just been all around solid.
All right. So, two expectations, Tony. Is there anybody that you knew something was going to happen and it happened?
I would say Brandon Nimmo. And that's because we kind of know that Nimmo is streaky. So when I answer this, it's not because he's like consistent but at the end of the year, he's always going to put up these same numbers. Like he has now become like that mid to low 20 home run type of bat. The OBP, yes, it has dropped off a little bit at the sacrifice of hitting for a little bit more power. But when Nimmo is right, this is a complete different lineup. And so at the end of the year, his numbers are going to be there. He has been okay in left field, though he's definitely taken a step back defensively from what we have seen over the past couple of seasons. But again, when he is going right, this Mets offense is usually doing much better. I know a lot of people say the Mets offense goes as Francisco Lindor goes. That is definitely true. But if there's anybody that I think comes next on that list, it might be Brandon Nimmo. So at the end of the day, Nimmo's going to get his. He's going to put up the numbers that we've come to expect from him over the years. So, yeah, he's pretty much fallen right in line with where I would have expected him to be at this point in the season. And honestly, maybe even a little better with how great he has been over the last 2 months or so.
Yeah, I think that them finally realizing that he's not a cleanup hitter was definitely a big culture shock to the Mets. Like, wow, this guy's not a cleanup hitter. And he has been really good. We're not getting the walks that we were seeing from Brandon Nimmo and like a patented, he's walking twice a game. But we're still seeing that contribution from Brandon Nimmo after that slow start he had. It also seems like he's stealing some more bases recently as well. It seems like the foot's feeling better,
sure. I mean,
which
he's
is
up
good.
To 10 already. So,
he's up to 10. He had 15 last year, which he had to slow down afterwards with that foot injury. So it looks like the foot is feeling better. And going into age 32 season, he's going to be here for a while. So,
yep. I mean, I'm guessing we have an MVP category here. It's got to be Antoine Richardson, right? It's got to be the Mets' first base coach. What is this team stolen? Like, been only caught stealing 10 times in 90 tries or something? It's unbelievable what he's doing with these guys.
Yeah, he's actually done a really good job too. That's definitely an MVP to point out as well. But we will get to that. I think, as expected, I mean, I don't have the old faithful James McCann here anymore to say that I just knew the dude was going to suck. Jeez. I guess I would go... Man, I mean, this would be probably the way, like the category I put AJ Minter in, but he didn't pitch as much. So I guess I can say AJ Minter here because I expected him to be a good setup man. What about your guy
Edwin Diaz? You expect him to be the greatest reliever, and he's been really great.
I don't know. I think that 2019 season is still affecting him, and we may have to start having a conversation. But I mean, I expect him to do well, but I think the adjustment period to him getting back to the injury, I think we all knew that it was going to be rough to him to get back to it. Obviously, he's not back to that 2022 form that was so dominant, but he's getting close. But AJ Minter, again, I expected him to be that eighth inning guy that was setting up Diaz, and he was that for a second, and then he ended up getting hurt. So I guess I would put Minter. I don't know if you can also say to the expectations of him getting injured too, because he came off of hip surgery, but that's kind of a rudimentary thing to look at. But I think Minter would be into that category of a guy who we expected to set up Edwin Diaz, and bring in the back end of that bullpen, but he just ended up getting injured. So that kind of sucks. But if there's anybody else you guys want to put out here.
No, I mean, that kind of goes with what I've been complaining about with Stearns' off seasons, that you sign someone who was injured and then they got injured. I mean,
Well,
what did you
yeah.
really expect? Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, sign healthy players.
I don't know. I think I still think that Minter was a really, really good signing, and it sucks that we lost him. But again, as for guys who have disappointed us this year, there's been quite a few. Again, like we've said, we've talked about underwhelming before. There have been guys that have been disappointing. So Frank, I will bring it right back to you. The most disappointing player on this team so far, 97 games. That's the key number here.
Yeah, so I'm not going to take the guy that everyone wants me to take. I'll let Tony take him. So I'll take the other one. I'll take Vientos, only because, I mean, he was batting 2 in the playoffs, like National League Championship Series,
Yeah.
batting second. We talk about, new age philosophy. Your best, one of your best hitters bats second. That's where he was, and he was doing exceptional in the biggest moments, most pressure. He was handling it. And you're like, oh, if he could do great in the postseason, then a regular season should be a cakewalk next year. And it's been quite the opposite. I mean, I talked about it earlier, but people are like, oh, maybe they have to DFA him because he just have much roster value right now. If he's not hitting, he's not giving you anything else. And he was continuing to struggle. Had a good series against Kansas State. I hope he could build off of it. But so far, I mean, with where he's at, I mean, this guy only has 6 home runs. I had him like penciled in for a 30 home run season going into the year. And right now he's at 6. I mean, even in this hot stretch, not even a hot stretch, but this good series, still no homers. I mean, he's still just like not that same player that he was.
Yeah, it's definitely been weird. We'll get into Vientos if this continues to snowball the way that it has, because it's been a very interesting year for him, and frustrating year for him as we've seen it visually. But Tony, is there anybody that you'd like to say is the most disappointing?
Well, Frank, I guess you were alluding to Francisco Alvarez. Is that who you thought I was going to take? Okay.
That's who everyone would want you to take.
Yeah. Well, no, I actually would also go with Mark Vientos, because building off of what you're saying right there, I had this dude like for the next 10 years as the Mets starting third baseman that was going to pop 25, maybe 30 home runs on a regular basis after what we saw him do last year, what we saw him do in the playoffs. And I mean, he is so pivotal to taking this lineup to the next level, and I think is one of the biggest reasons that this offense has been as underwhelming as it has been, because you don't have that protection behind Pete Alonso. You don't have that 1 through 5, 1 through 6, because you're also missing Jesse Winker from this lineup for the majority of this season. So for Vientos to have taken such a step back, it's impossible to overlook. It's impossible for me to say that anyone else has been more disappointing than him, in my opinion. And I guess the reason I'll give real quick on why I don't make it Francisco Alvarez is because I already had questions about Francisco Alvarez from what he did last year. He spent a lot of time on the injured list. He didn't perform that well when he did return. And I thought that going into 25, this was actually more so of a prove-it year for Francisco Alvarez than anything. For Vientos, I thought this is the beginning of potential stardom. And obviously it's been a real fall from grace. So hopefully this weekend again against Kansas City will get him going into the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you can put any of the young guys, to be honest, in the disappointing, because that's been the main reason as to why the lineup has looked so top heavy. But I am going to go with Francisco Alvarez, because I'm going to tell you right now, we've talked about the concerns with the bat, we've talked about all of that, but the defense was horrendous. Like, it was very bad. Like, I'm not going to lie, he took a big step back defensively. The blocking has not gotten better. The receiving has regressed. We're just seeing a lot of miscues as well, that it was costing this team a lot of runs, and that was what basically led to his demotion down to AAA. And then also the bat, it's just, I'm not seeing that middle of the order catcher. I'm not seeing it. I have not seen it that we expected him to be as a prospect. And it's just been disappointing. It has been disappointing. Now, can you credit that or discredit that to, some people that are around him that maybe be corrupting him into a hitter that he is not? Yes, you can. But again, it comes to a certain extent where he's got to perform somewhat. We know what he is capable of. And when he does end up coming back, I'm sure that department will ruin him once again. And, we'll continue to see some things that are underwhelming until this organization actually gets a hitting coach that is not from the 15th century. So, anyways, on to the biggest riser, a guy who came out of nowhere, a guy who was bad or wasn't great, and then this year he's really taken a step forward. Someone who was either bad with this team or bad last year with another team, and this year he's definitely made a huge contribution. And it can go from somebody who was maybe injured, who was not doing well, or any kind of department that they've just they rose to the occasion. Let's just say that. Frank, I'll bring it right back to you. Someone who just was a riser, like he just like the Angels. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I got it. Now I understand.
Yeah, I know. I'm great at charades. I know.
Okay. So his recent performance, not so much, but prior to that, I mean, Huskar Brosbon last year,
absolutely,
he was brutal. I mean, this is a guy we're like, can't use him in the playoffs. At least he has a minor league option. Put him in the minors. What are we doing? All this great stuff. Good baseball savant page, no results. He had a lot of really, really big outings for this team, but he's also had plenty of stinkers lately. So I'm not so sure at this current moment, but leading up to this, I mean, he did have some really, really big outings, much better than he was last year. So, I mean, I saw improvements, but I think with him, it's like we said, if you so many ifs. If the offense was better, if we had our starting pitchers healthy and work deeper into games, if we had more reliable relievers, then you could decrease his workload and see what kind of pitcher he is. But that's way too many ifs. So this is what the team is at, and I just feel like an overworked Brazaban, it's a scary proposition because he's going to walk batters, and when he walks batters, that's like we said, that's where the avalanches occur. So that's really the key with him is like if he throws strikes, I mean, he could just be super effective.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of brought into that role. Same thing goes for Reed Garrett, too, with A.J. Minter going down. We talked about it before, of this unfortunate part of how this, bullpen was allocated and what we expected. And that's kind of just how we saw it going forward. Either way, Huskar Brosbon is a really good pick. But, Tony, if there's anybody you want to add to the biggest riser.
Yeah, some things never change even 4 years later. Frank's stealing my thunder. But that's okay. No, I would have went Huascar Brosbump for sure, even, with some of the recent bumps in the road that he's had. But I'll change it up. I'll go, you went most surprising for Jeff McNeil, Carson. I'll say Jeff McNeil because I think a lot of us entered this season wondering who is Jeff McNeil because over the last 2 years, he's been downright terrible since that batting title championship in 2022. And
he had a good step in half last year.
Yeah, happy Jeff was saying a lot of homers.
It was a good 150 plate appearances.
Yeah, for like a month.
He had a good Subway series.
Fantastic Subway series. And he allowed the 60-year-old Mets fans to hold one over the Yankee fans, even though we have bigger aspirations whatsoever. But, yeah.
So, I mean, for me, it's got to be Jeff McNeil because I really, truly thought he was done as a contributor to being like on a playoff team, especially with us. Maybe a change of scenery would have done him well or something like that. I didn't think he served any role on this team, so I was ready to move on. I have been for a couple years now with Jeff McNeil, but, I mean, he has obviously been their best second baseman, at least as far as his offensive output that they've had ran out there this year. So I'll give it to Jeff.
Yeah, as Odd Villain would say it, every uncle's favorite player. But he's definitely put more into the power department, which is good. What was it? The happy slappy Jeff is gone or whatever. So it's been a lot better. But either way, I will say.
Whoa, which Frank are you talking to? Let me just get that straight. Which Frank are you talking to? You're talking to me or one in the chat?
Somebody in the chat. I don't know.
All right. Please clarify because we are not gonna say I don't care about winning. We're not doing that.
Yeah, all he cares about is Jeff McNeil's batting average. But anyways, biggest riser. I mean, again, this is somebody that I feel like was in this category and then just kind of slipped out of it, kind of like with A.J. Minter. But I would have put Max Kranick in here because I feel like he came out of here from injury, burst onto the scene in spring training, we were like, oh my God, this guy has been fantastic. He's just mowing down hitters. And then he has this rough stretch. Now he's hurt, most likely out for the year. Maybe he has Tommy John surgery. So that's where he would probably go. Everybody else, it was always like, yeah, I mean, this is something I expected. Like, the Fab Four, like I expect them to do as well as they did. Do I just say Edwin Diaz? Because last year it was rough. And this year it's been better.
2 whole runs. So it's a reliever ERA, but he's up 2 runs.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. And then he also has only blown 1 save this year. And that's really important for the All-Star voting. So, yeah.
Obviously.
So, again, yeah, obviously. Because closers are the only relievers in this game. That's basically how they look at it. But, again, can you tell we're not bitter? Anyways, yeah, I guess Max Krennic would go in this. But, again, it stalled off at the end there. But 97 games, a majority of those 97 games, I'd say that there was definitely a riser from that. And, again,
that's a good answer. That's a good answer with how bad he was last year.
That's a good one. Yeah,
yeah,
that could be a good one. Pete Alonso could be a good one after last year, especially in the runners and scoring position category, which is a piece of emphasis for this offense that has been one of the reasons why they're
if they had
underperforming.
Last year's Alonso run scoring position, like they just wouldn't score.
Oh yeah, they would score 1 run a game. Yeah,
like
0 to 1 run a game. Yeah.
If Soto or Lindor doesn't homer, then
and Mets fans will still find a way to blame pitching staff. Yeah, the pitching staff. So yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely would put Max Krennic there, but it kind of edges off. But then we get into the more controversial part of this, and that being most underrated first. Someone who's kind of flew under the radar, and then we have the opposite of that one, which I don't know if that's going to break some hearts or slash some tires. I don't know, but from the underrated part, Tony, I will go to you on this one. The most underrated part of this team, one player that you would like to hand that to. I think you are muted. So, yeah.
This is kind of tough. I'm not going to lie, because I guess it could also been, I wish I could have changed it and had Alonso as my riser and then had McNeil here as the underrated, but whatever. What's done is done. I'm not going to give it to one individual player. I'm instead going to give it to the Mets catching. And I know everyone's going to say, what are you talking about? They're hitting like a combined 215 this year. It's been terrible offensively. But defensively, they've been tremendous at stopping the opposition's running game this year. Torrens has been fantastic throwing runners out. Alvarez was doing pretty well in that department. We know he was not blocking balls very well or framing and receiving well. That was definitely an issue. Hopefully he's sorting some of that out in AAA. But for the most part, I would say defensively, we have been pretty solid behind the plate, and most importantly, at preventing the opponents from running wild all over us. Even Hayden Singer has been a more than serviceable backup. You could do so much worse for this guy to be the third catcher on your 40-man roster. I have even been impressed with him a little bit, so I guess that is how I would answer that question. I know it's probably not the sexiest answer, but they've done really well in that regard.
No, that's definitely a department in the margins that was definitely important, especially last year when they were just running all over Omar Narvaez as well as Francisco Alvarez. Then they bring in Luis Torrens, and he was holding the running game a lot better. And even Alvarez was able to learn from him as well. And that was the most productive part of Alvarez's defense this year. So that is definitely a good point. Frank, I'll swing it to you on the most underrated part of this team. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually going to give it to a guy. I've mentioned him a little bit in previous episodes and recaps, but I think Brandon Waddell has given this team more than I would have expected going into the season. I mean, you look at it.
More than we wanted to.
More than we wanted to, but he's given them 23 and a third innings and not been like totally terrible. I mean, he'll give up a couple runs, but there's just many like unfortunate circumstances where this guy comes in, rain, injury, whatever. 3 innings, 2 innings. I mean, our guy just blows up, doesn't have it, bullpen game. Like, he just comes to like these random spots early in the game, middle of the game, late in the game, and he gives you 2 to 3 innings and doesn't like totally make it a blowout. It's not asking much, but we see how many different pitchers this team has used, how many different pitchers have been injured. just to have a guy who comes in here, gives you a few innings, it doesn't totally kill you. It goes a long way to not totally overworking everybody else that's already overworked.
Yeah, it's obviously just filling in those innings. We've said it, piecing it together, and that's kind of how this rotation is built. And the only way that helps is with the offense doing well and doing a lot better. But I mean, listen, Waddell has definitely been
6 walks in 23 innings. Like that's crazy. You know, he's
I guess
aggressive.
Those KBO
runs,
pitchers, those KBO pitchers, you know, that's their MO, I guess. You just don't walk anyone.
Yeah, too
I'm
bad
glad that.
Sorry, I was going to say, too bad those KBO hitters can't do anything very well. Jared Young.
Yeah, thanks, Jared Young. But he did tie the game yesterday, right? So that just foils everything.
Getting
right?
a sacrifice fly is a lot because we've talked
is.
about it, but like it's easier said done because you have Brett
especially
Page
when the guy before him
pulled
the ball into the
Brett Page
ground.
gets to the ground. So
Yeah, so that's basically the epitome of the Mets offense, just waiting for someone to wake up. That would be very, very nice. Now, I'm glad that Tony opened the door for the defensive side of things. And Frank is going to roll his eyes on this one. But the most underrated player on this team for me is definitely Tyrone Taylor. And I think that the main reason as to why is because of how it flies under the radar with how bad his bat really can be at points where he can basically strike out.
That's why they put him on the bench. That's why McNeil's in center field because this guy can't hit.
All right, well, tell Drew Gilbert to hit better. Tell Drew Gilbert to hit better in AAA, and then we wouldn't have this issue. But this is the David Stern, one of the David Stern's additions to this roster from last year. He definitely has come through with a lot of game-winning plays. Is he a perfect player by any means? No, he is not. He is not a good hitter. Maybe he'll give you a few line drive hits because he does have a good line drive rate off of his bat. However, he's not here for offense. He can be a huge contributor if he's batting ninth. However, we have plenty of 9-hole hitters on this team, and hopefully they adjust that at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
defensively, great. Yeah. Arm is great. Base running, great. Again, those things in the margins, very, very important. And that's a lot of things that the Mets lack on this. And this is 100% true that Tyrone Taylor is being exposed offensively. Absolutely, because he ain't here for his bat. And I've said it before, he can go 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and he can still find a way to contribute to the game. And that's why I say he's the most underrated part of this team.
He can. I mean, he still has other ways to help you, like I said, win ball games. But just overall, I mean, like we said, that offense is just, it's brutal. I mean, it really is.
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
And what's weird, and like I said before, is that when he was in Milwaukee, there's a guy that was like hitting home runs, but also to the point of him being exposed, like he was also always a 4th outfielder. Like he's supposed to be a 4th outfielder. But,
and he's starting pretty much every day. Yeah.
Exactly. But like you said, I mean, with the way this team is constructed, he is in the lab every day. And with the way this team is constructed, he is not batting ninth because you have a team that is a bunch of leadoff hitters, a bunch of number 9 hitters, and then there's Soto and Alonso. Like that's how they're constructed. Like it's leadoff hitters, 9 hitters, and Soto and Alonso.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's rough. And what was that team that was it brought in by was it brought in by David Stearns? It wasn't. Like a majority of this lineup was inherited by David Stearns. So again, that's the thing. It's like, what is he going to do with the balance of this lineup when he's inherited most of them? Hopefully they do make those changes, and I hope he makes that bat stamp. But Soto, Taylor, I guess Bader is another one that he brought in here. Like he's had like a few little ones, but he
keeps getting the same guy though. I mean, how do you go from Taylor to Bader to Siri? I mean, do you not realize that like these are all the same players?
You need players like that though.
3 of them? Like, I mean, come on.
You need players. Well, especially when you got the entire lineup, nobody wants to move. I mean, you got Lindor with the broken pinky toe. Nimmo almost had his foot cut off last year. Alonso runs like he's, he's about to shake the ground. Soto, when he wants to run, he'll run. Like, you need guys like that for the postseason, obviously. And, those are the types of guys you need. But the bat, again, is so brutal that it needs to be batting ninth. However, we're looking for maybe, I don't know. The reason as to why Tyrone Taylor's bat looks so brutal is because the kids, the baby Mets, have been so underwhelming in the bottom part of that lineup. And I think that's the main reason as to why people are just saying, well, Tyrone Taylor sucks, he needs to go. No, it's because all those young guys and the young youth and the baby Mets, they've been shit. And that is the main reason as to why Tyrone Taylor has to be batting 6th sometimes or 7th, which shouldn't be happening. Anyways, that gives us to the most controversial, and that being most overrated. Now, obviously, we don't want to bash our own players, even though we've done. We got odd villains killing me. Even though we don't bash our own players, but this is all fair criticism. Now, I do want to say this again. We do this all the time, and I just want to establish this. Overrated does not mean bad, okay? So we all know there's guys who are really, really bad. That doesn't make them overrated. Like guys like, let's see, guys who have come in here, Justin Hagenman, like he's bad. We know he's bad. He's not overrated. That doesn't make him overrated. Like guys like when Albert Almora was here, he wasn't overrated. He just sucked. We all know he sucked. So again, overrated. Guys that people are seeing as a good performance, that maybe it's not the best, and maybe, I don't know, that maybe it's being completely overhyped, and we just need to settle down and just see how it goes for the rest of the season. Frank, I will go to you. Who would you say is the most overrated going into the second half as we are at the All-Star break?
Let's do it. Let's get controversial. So I'm going to go with a guy who seems to be like invincible to criticism because of his arm, Luis Torrens. Because everyone, when Francisco Alvarez was struggling at the plate, we know it's bad for his, but at the plate, everyone's like, he's a bum, he's fat, he's a bust, he needs to go, send him down. Make Torrens play every day. Torrens is so good. Just have Torrens start, get rid of Alvarez. It's all Torrens. But he's going to be so much better when he plays full time. Ever since he's played full time, he's been like way worse, like worse than Alvarez, worse than everybody. This guy is like a miracle if he gets a hit. His OPS is below 600. His batting average is about to be below 200. And this is when he got the full-time playing time that everyone was clamoring for. Now that he's playing every day, no one says anything. It's like when Alvarez, as soon as Alvarez has like a bad game offensively, oh, he needs to go. But Torrens could have like bad game after bad game after bad game. They don't care because his arm. Because his arm is so great that he is just like totally immune to criticism. Meanwhile, Alvarez is hitting a home run dang near every day, sometimes 2 a day, and I'm just watching Torrens with his, good ABs. He worked the count to line out. Like, what are we doing here? And like you said, when you have the baby Mets doing it, you have Tyrone Taylor having a competition with who could be worse. I mean, this is what we have is Torrens every single day.
Tony, can you tell that he's been holding that in for weeks?
Yikes.
I mean, I don't know. Frank, tell your favorite catcher to play better then. Like that again, he should have played better then, and he wouldn't have been demoted.
No, he should have. Yeah. And listen, I mean, other guys too. I mean, Vientos has gotten away with worse. Acuna has gotten away with worse. I mean, they were pretty quick to pull the trigger on him. Defense, sure, but I mean, offensively, I mean, come on. Like you can't tell me that it's not this bad.
Yeah, well, again, Alvarez also wasn't traded for just $100,000. So again, we have expectation for Alvarez.
But the absolute like invincibility that this guy has, and the way everyone was clamoring to get rid of Alvarez just so Torrens could play. Like, and then as soon as it happened, everyone just shut up. And he played terrible, and no one cares. Nobody cares. He could never get hit again, and nobody would care. Like his arm is that amazing.
Probably not. I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you're above league average throwing out runners, I get it, but it's like, come on.
Hey, somebody had to replace the fan favorite of Louis.
While we're at it, like, I mean, this is a joke.
We have a new Lewis. That everybody clamors for. That's a role player that's not good.
You're right. He is filling in for Luis Guillorme very good. As like this immune, everything is perfect no matter how bad he is offensively. It's fine.
He's a ball player.
He's a ball player.
Anyways, Tony, is there anybody you want to put in the overrated category of people jumping the gun and putting them on a Wheaties box already?
I hate that you're going to do this to me. I really do, because I'm going to just look like such a jerk off for this. But I got to just say it. Francisco Lindor, okay? I love Francisco Lindor, okay? Hear me out. Let me just get it all out. Love Francisco Lindor. But he is very, very streaky, as we know. He got off to a little bit of a slow start. Then he kind of picked it up in the middle of April. Then he was really hot. He was winning games with walk-off home runs for them. And now it seems that there doesn't go at least a single 3-game series where we don't see like an 0 for 5 with 3 Ks in his line, right? It's like consistency is sexy. That is like something that you want to see from the MVP, who I have a really great answer for that, by the way. You're going to love it. But I just need a little more consistency out of Lindor. It doesn't seem to be such a surprise that June, the worst month of the season so far for the Mets in 2025, coincided with this huge slump from Francisco. Over his last 30 games, just a 210 average, 280 on base percentage. I mean, he's been bad for the last 30 games. That's really, really bad. And I am so glad he got this All-Star appearance, even if he's not totally deserving this year of it. He should have got it last year and probably other seasons that he's been here with the Mets so far. But, I mean, the OPS last year was 844. It's at 787 right now. And I fully believe he's going to end the year with his 30-plus homers, close to 100 RBIs, and an OPS above 800. I'm not going to say 830, 840, but hopefully in that range, and all will be well. But it's the ups and the downs sometimes with the guy that, is one of the most crucial and important parts of this lineup to keep them consistently winning, and we just haven't got that consistency out of Francisco Lindor. And lastly, his defense is taking a little bit of a step back this year. We can all admit that.
That is another thing that I think has been glossed
Tony,
over, obviously.
How could you not mention that this guy he forgot how to slide? I mean, I don't know what happened, but how many times has this guy going into second base, I don't know if maybe because of the back thing in Philadelphia where like he had like the weird thing happen and he's afraid to slide. But the way this guy it falls asleep on the bases and he gets doubled off or just doesn't slide to prevent a double play all the time. And then defensively, like you mentioned, Tony, it's not even like he lost his defense. He just misses routine plays. Like they'll just hit the ball to the ground. He drops it. There'll be a runner running to second. He throws to second instead of throwing to first. It's just like these mental lapses that he has on the field way too frequently.
Yeah, I'll just say this. Last year, he had an amazing second half. He is the biggest reason they made the playoffs last year, and finishes runner-up in the MVP, wins it if Shohei Ohtani doesn't play in the National League. He's not even close to playing like an MVP this year. That's all I'm saying. Love him, and I know he's going to turn it around, but right now I'm not seeing the same Lindor we saw last year.
Yeah, we again, everybody will kind of gloss over it with he's playing on a broken toe. That's what you'll hear. But we do need to have him step up. I mean, we had a few weeks ago, I did a ranking of the 81 games in of actually halfway through the season. I had Lindor at 2, but I also said that there still is room for him to be a lot better because we have seen some underwhelming stretches from him this season. And I think that we all can agree. But I do think he will get it going, but I think Tony is onto something there because he's had quite a big wave of ridicule, like just with Soto here of how mediocre he was for 2 months.
Yeah,
there was times where there was some points where Lindor deserved some of the flack and he didn't get much of it because coming off of the MVP caliber year that he did have last year. So again, yeah.
I will say in fairness to Lindor and how much could the toe be affecting him. I mean, look at the kind of season Mookie Betts is having right now. This is a guy that right now is below league average offensively after he was awesome last year. So these are two guys, both have very similar injury and both are just not looking good at all.
Didn't Mookie Betts lose like 20 pounds?
He did, but then he got it back. Once he was activated, like his weight was pretty close to being where it was.
He
started training with Daniel Vogelbach, and he got it back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and good comment from Ricardo. It could have easily also been Soto based on how he played for the first
Yeah.
2 months of the year. But I kind
But
of
he got like so crazy hot that it made it like when you look at like you were saying Tony like the numbers right now it made up for him. Like I said, Lindor's under 800, Soto's above 900, about to pass Alonso on the leaderboard as far as like OPS. He has more home runs than Alonso. Like he just had such a crazy hot streak that Lindor never had.
Yeah, and I kind of expected there to be a little bit of growing pains with Soto coming to the Mets, leaving the Yankees, another added, narrative behind all of that. And of course, being paid $765 million as a 26-year-old. I expected that it might not be great out of the chute, but clearly looks more comfortable now. So that's, we know what we were supposed to expect out of Francisco Lindor.
He's
and
got
close.
14 and a half years left to prove that. We know what Francisco Lindor has been here for quite a while. For me, I'm sorry. I have to do it. I was getting shit for it earlier on, but I'm really Brett Beatty, enough already. Please stop. Please, enough with this. He has been really good defensively at third base. I will agree. He has. He's made strides defensively, and he definitely has looked better than Mark Vientos at third base. But that doesn't mean that this is the full-on breakout of Brett Beatty, and this is the Brett Beatty summer where we make all the TikTok edits of him looking sexy, okay? He has a 94 weighted runs created plus. He has a OBP below 290. I mean, yes, he has 9 home runs. He's driven in 30, and he's been really good with runners in scoring position. But overall, this isn't your third baseman of the future. He isn't. And I've said it so many times with Brett Beatty. He is a first-round pick. He comes with expectation. He ain't it. He's not good enough. He just isn't. He's not doing it for us. It doesn't do enough. And if he is good defensively and a below league average bat, that makes him a bench player. And if you think that being a bench glove is enough value from wasting a first-round pick on, I don't know what to tell you. He's just not good enough. The bat is the same it has always been. He's hitting the ball a little bit harder, still pounding it into the ground, still can't hit secondary stuff. And the consistency is still the same. And obviously, he has been the best performer of the kids. That's not hard to do. Mark Vientos has been terrible. Francisco Alvarez has not been good either and banged up. Acuna has not been good whatsoever at the plate. And then, who am I missing? Mauricio, just coming back from an injury, and he's had some struggles. We have legitimate, I don't understand where we're going with this, where people view it as, well, he's just so young. He's 25 years old. 25. If this is the Brett Beatty breakout, if this is what we're talking about, as one of the most advanced at bats, by the way, in the draft class that he was at, this is not good enough. It's not. He has a 94 weighted runs created plus. That's a career high for him. So yippee. Yippee. He had 2 months in May where he was showing something. We needed to see more. One thing I will say, Beatty's actually been rosterable this year. He's not been a minor league player this year. But for me to say he's rosterable in his, third season of a lot of playing time says a lot, doesn't it? It does say a lot. And it's not like Brett Beatty was a late first-round pick. This guy was in the lottery. This guy was in this lottery. And we can say this, Game for War saying, I can't blame Beatty when you consistently get bad hitting coach. And that I agree with. I agree that our hitting coach is, basically the equivalent to a monkey with a typewriter. But when it comes to Beatty, he's always had these issues. Before he even met Eric Chavez, before he even met Jeremy Barnes. This was somebody, they said, this is one of the quickest bats, one of the advanced hitters of an advanced approach. However, he hits the ball on the ground too much. And we are still seeing it. Still over 50% in the ground ball rate. Like, again, it's diminished compared from 55 to 50%. But when are we going to wait for it to get to 45% or 40%? When he's 33? Like, how long are we going to do this where we're like, okay, this ain't it? And I know he's had 800 plate appearances, and that's not enough for that. But this is first round pick potential that we're talking about it. I'm not even seeing a top 150 pick. I'm not even seeing a top 200 ranked prospect that he was. He's just not good enough. He isn't good enough. He's not the future of the hot corner here. And I'm done giving. I'm just done giving out the Girl Scout cookies to guys who came with expectation and have not met it whatsoever. Have there been improvements? Yes. But slight improvements is no improvement when the guy is 25 years old, about to be 26. I'm just so tired of this constant saying, well, Beatty is still the future, and he hasn't been. He has not looked like it whatsoever. He got jumped by Mark Vientos. And if Mark Vientos was hitting, I know, big if, guess who's a bigger if? Brett Beatty, who hasn't seen, like, that's the thing. It hasn't shown that. He hasn't. And I'm done. I'm tired because I'm so tired of this constant talk about Brett Beatty being the third baseman of the future. Brett Beatty is coming around. Brett Beatty is this. Brett Beatty is that. We need to see something because Mark Vientos showed you something last year, and it wasn't the lack of consistency. Vientos has fallen off here. And if Vientos continued, we'd be talking about Brett Beatty in a different light of somebody who we expected to contribute with his glove and his bat. He's contributed with his glove, I will say that. But I'm not seeing it. I am not seeing this fantastic, everyday third baseman that people are seeing. Again, the bat needs to be something of contribution from the third base position. And we all know that guys who are good defenders at third base are not considered the best third baseman in this game. Brian Hayes is one that comes to mind. One of the best defensive third basemen in the game, but nobody talks about him as one of the best third basemen in the game because his bat stinks. And that's the trajectory that we're going to go on with Brett Beatty of saying this guy is the future at this position. No, he's not. He ain't. If anything, you guys want to add with that, because I'm done with this discussion. This is what he is. There's no ceiling. There's nothing that he can rise to. This is it. This is Brett Beatty. He's shown you this through almost 900 plate appearances in his career. I don't know how long we can continue to do this until he's like 33. Like, what are we going to do? Like, how long are we going to do this and continue to kid ourselves that this guy just ain't it? He ain't the future at this position. He's nowhere near the guy that's going into the rafters this week. Nowhere near that. Nowhere near it. And he's nowhere near the guy that came after him in J.D. Davis. Nowhere near that either. I'm done. I'm done with this discussion.
If we could put all of their different skill sets into one third baseman, we would be in such a good spot. If you just could combine Mauricio's speed and then Beatty's defense at third, which, by the way, I actually think the metrics are a little misleading. By the eye test, I'm sorry, I'm not all super impressed with Brett Beatty. He's just the other day in Baltimore, that ball just one hops out of his glove. Yes, he's got a couple flashy plays for the highlight reel, but I don't think Brett Beatty is as good defensively as some of the numbers might suggest. But if we could combine all of those guys' skills into one player, we might have a third baseman. But yeah, I'm with you, man. And I think Ricardo just said it in the chat. Hot take. Doesn't think the future third baseman is on this roster right now. That's really saying something. If he doesn't think any of those three guys are going to be the guy. I mean, There's
only one guy I'm still a little hopeful for, but, still we're not seeing anything crazy from him either. And, they're going to have to...
He might have to be a strictly left-handed hitter with the way he's going.
Right, with Ron.
He's really struggling from the right side. Bad.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. LVP, least valuable player. Someone who just completely sucks. We just want to completely trash right now.
My favorite.
Tony, your LVP for this season. There's plenty we can put out there.
Oh boy, I mean, I'm just gonna make it the contingent of crap slop quadruple A pitchers that David Stearns has signed off of the street from driving Uber. I mean, just any of them, Zuber, Adcock, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, pick any of them, just throw them all into one bunch. I mean, those bullpen games that we saw from the likes of those types of pitchers was just completely unacceptable. I mean, I get throughout a 162 and with the injuries that the Mets have had, it was necessary, but we cannot survive doing that too much longer. Luckily, it doesn't look like we're going to have to do that here for very long anymore with all the guys getting back to health in the rotation. But I would just make it all of those guys encompassed into one pick as being the biggest letdown, the least valuable, the least, production positive that we have gotten from any of the other possible areas of this team.
All right. Frank, is there anybody else you want to add to the pile here?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go with my guy, the one that I still can't believe they paid this man this amount of money, Paul Blackburn. I mean, they gave him $4 million after he was bad and hurt last year. Then he comes back to do what? Be more hurt and be more bad. I mean, he is now, he's 0 he's 0-3. He's got 6 games played, ERA of over 7. I mean, every time he's out there, and then the best thing about him is that, like, he was great against the Dodgers of all teams. He was great, which now doesn't seem like that much milestone with how Dodgers been playing lately. But anyway, looks good at Dodgers. Oh, maybe Blackburn found something. And then he was just terrible. Like, against Colorado. Like, he just makes no sense. He just annoys me. Like, he drives me nuts. So, definitely him. Least valuable. He does nothing. It's like, because if you're going to make a start and just be absolutely terrible, then why even make the start? Like, he's not valuable. He's never there. So it's like you're paying this guy to be home. I mean, he's got Jed Lowry status almost. Like, he's just not productive.
Jed Lowry status. Okay.
Pay him to be home. If it was a 60 game season, Blackburn almost wouldn't be playing. So that's what happened with Lowry.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of forgot about Blackburn. I'm not gonna lie, because we haven't had any updates on him.
He's not valuable. He's least valuable.
Yeah, I completely forgot him. That's the pick.
I completely forgot about him, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, because usually when guys are injured, we get the updates here. But it's whatever. I mean, yeah, that's basically what he's been rough ever since being traded here. And it's just this is one of the top L's for David Stearns of some of the moves that he made. And again, like I said, if there's going to be a level of pitcher like Paul Blackburn that they acquire at the deadline instead of somebody that can stabilize the rotation, I'm going to be upset. I am definitely going to be upset.
If they get another one, I'm going to lose it. And we talk about, since the All-Star break, 2022 All-Star. Who would have thought?
Yeah,
If I can actually just add a real quick one before you go, sure. Carson, I hope it's not a guy. Okay, so I said all the bullpen pitchers, but the essential workers, as someone just called here, odd villain, great comment. But I'm actually going to go with Jose Siri, and the reason is twofold. Number one, obviously, because Jose Siri, they traded Eric Ortze to Tampa, who has been really solid for them in relief, shoved against the Mets. Yeah, shocking. Right, of course. Who would have ever seen that coming? Number two, when Siri actually was playing in the first month of the season, I think he was hitting below 100. Am I wrong about that? Somewhere in that general area?
Yeah, he had a -6 OPS plus.
I mean, it was
negative.
That's not that bad.
Abhorrent.
He's hitting 50 in 24 plate appearances.
Yeah.
That's not that bad.
Just insane. And so not only his horrible play, he then gets injured, has a setback. Who knows if he's coming back at all this year? Not even that. We really would like to see him. But when I say it's twofold, because I think the effect it has had on Tyrone Taylor's play, because Tyrone Taylor is not meant to be an everyday center fielder. But when he was in the role that he was in, splitting time in center field with Harrison Bader in 2024, he brought a lot more to the plate. And we're not getting that now because he's out there every freaking day unless you have Jeff McNeil out there. And that takes the Mets back a step defensively up the middle in center field. So Jose Siri, because of his performance, because of his injury, and the effect that has had on the rest of the roster, probably goes down as my least valuable player if I'm looking at an actual individual.
That's a good one under the hood. It really is. It is. It is a good one. However, Siri does have a lot of aura. So it negates all of it, and that just throws everything out of the window. But yeah, I understand it. But no, Siri will always have a special place in my heart as the type of player that he is. This one is rough because I think it's very easy to just say, okay, you can just put Mark Vientos in here because of how disappointing he has been. And then also just the overall LVP of value, where if he's not hitting, he's giving you absolutely nothing. But
he's actually statistically the least valuable because he has a negative 0.6 WAR.
He is technically, yes, statistically he is. I guess, can I put Jeff McNeil here because he just gets our hopes up? No?
Stanek
Can't
is also negative 0.6.
Is Stanek? We can't. I mean, reliever WAR, whatever. But
and Blackburn's right there with him. But
yeah, Blackburn's right there with him. I mean, Blackburn's a good one. Siri is a good one. Let's see. Whew. Let's go
McGill. That's a good one.
McGill is a good one. I could put Alvarez there too if you want to smile back at me.
It's not over yet.
Let's see.
Acuna.
I mean, Jared Young you could put there, but he got us a sack fly. He got us a sack fly yesterday, so that negates everything, and recency bias is everything. I guess Jared Young, because I did have him 28th out of 28 in those rankings, if you do remember, Frank. So I guess I'll go with Jared Young on that. The MVP, we can go on in a more unconventional way, or we can just go the guy who's the MVP. I don't know. The least valuable person is Jesse Winker's physical trainer. That's a good one.
There's a lot of trainers who are not very valuable, especially in the pitching.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Budo was bad for a stretch as well. He was in DFA territory for me.
He turned it around though. I mean, he did
turn it around. He has looked solid recently.
We'll see how he is when he comes
and then he
back,
licked the sidewalk, like we said.
Yes.
I don't know how many times we mentioned that, like 4 times already, or I mentioned it, not everybody. So MVP, Tony, you said you had a really good one for this. So
I do. It's not that it's going to be any groundbreaking thing or anything, but in terms of our show here, you're a guy's show now, of course, but, coming full circle with me being back here today, we go back to 2021, and even just the other day on the Till Mets Do Us Part podcast, I took a little bit of a jab at Carson. It was all a joke, of course, but he made a great comment on that. And back in 21, when none of us believed in this guy, Carson got all of those nerdy, ridiculous stats that I didn't care about because all I saw was this guy blow every freaking game in the 9th inning. I'd never seen anything like it. But without a doubt, the MVP of the Mets is Edwin Diaz. He has been electric this year. Last year, up and down, we weren't sure. He gets removed from the closer role, ends up getting it back, was solid down the stretch, was pretty solid in October, though he gave us heart palpitations throughout most of those appearances. But Diaz has just been money good this year. Only one blown save. It comes against the Dodgers. What are you going to do? They're going to get you when you only have a 1-run freaking lead because this offense can't get the job done with runners in scoring position every night. But Diaz has just been so freaking good. He's now, a full 2 years removed from the ACL tear. The velo's down a little bit, but the command has been much better for the most part. There's always going to be times where he kind of loses the zone a little bit, but it hasn't been like that full, just total breakdown that we've seen from him in the past. It's the fastball's not working, he's going to the slider, and that's effective. The slider's not working, well, he's just locating the fastball then. He's getting swings and misses. He's just pitching a little more to contact. So Diaz has been money good for this team, and with the amount of injuries and shakeups that we have had in this bullpen, the one consistent has been the guy that needs to be the most consistent, and that's your closer. That's Edwin Diaz, so that's my guy.
If only that injury didn't happen. Who knows where we would be? Who knows? And it is just another linchpin, another bump of the crazy tenure that Edwin Diaz has had as a member of the Mets. Listen, this goes without saying at this point. Like I'm not someone who will just bring him up constantly these days. That's my number one guy. It's my favorite Met. He always will be. I'll always be in his corner. But that's what you expect. And when I see people like, well, I don't like putting him on with runners on, and I don't like putting him on for 2 innings. This is your $102 million closer. So he better be ready to go if he's ready to go. I don't want to hear that Josh Hader shit of, oh, I'm only going out in the 9th inning for 1 inning. Like, I don't want to hear it. That's $102 million that you just gave to him. So he better be ready to go. And I believe that he will be ready to go. And he will be able to produce. Every closer blows games. It happens. But he's been very, very sharp. So I agree with that. You can put him in the MVP conversation. Frank, I think there is an obvious one that we can all point out, of course. If you want to go with that one, I'm sure we'll do some improvising at the end there.
Yeah, I got to take Big Pete. I mean, the
right.
RBIs, it's just like with how the rest of the team has been. And it's like if we could mathematically, I mean, it's possible, but if you went like rest of team, average runner scoring position versus Pete Alonso, I mean, it's got to be like more than 100-point difference. Like it has to, because like it is just a whole other level of how much better he's been than literally everybody else on this team with men on base. Like it's crazy. I mean, the fact that you have like a guy in Juan Soto who's this huge home run hitter, 23 home runs, but Pete Alonso still has more than 20 RBIs in him is pretty crazy, especially that like Soto bats in front of Pete. So it's like he should be the one driving in the guys, like driving in Lindor, driving in Nemo. Like there shouldn't be as many RBIs available to Pete, but he still is able to do it. So, I mean, for me, it's like, like I said, if they didn't have him hitting with men on base, they'd have nobody hitting with men on base. And then if you thought they struggled scoring runs to begin with, I mean, forget it. So it's also really good that they kept him. And the fact that we even discussed Mark Vientos at first base when this guy can't get down to grab a ball from third. Can you imagine Mark Vientos trying to pick it at first and like stretch at first with his feet? I mean, he can't move. That would have just been the biggest disaster. So luckily, bringing back Pete saved us from that too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, who would have thought what would have happened? I don't know. But again, they brought back Pete, obviously just based off the year that he had last year. His market was completely just disintegrated, and comes back, and he's been, Pete again. It's nice to, people are saying it's nice to have Pete back and to re-sign him because we all love him. No, it's nice to have this Pete Alonso back, the one who's the main run producer, coming up big when we need him to. I mean, ever since that one swing in Milwaukee, it's just been a different level from Pete Alonso, just been completely different. And I thank Devin Williams for fixing our big polar bear. I think the final of the night is my MVP pick, and obviously the process of elimination. There's Edwin Diaz there. You have Pete Alonso. There's other guys, but is it only right? Is it only right?
Yes.
Ricardo saying Peterson is the MVP. I guess I got to sit here and agree with him. I mean, again, with David Peterson, we've given him his props, especially over this last month of what he's been able to do. He had a little bit of a rough stretch there, but he was able to get back on the horse and be able to do what he can do. But he's been doing what nobody else in this rotation has been able to do, and that being going deep into games. And he's been one of the lifesavers for saving the bullpen as well, and what he's developed into since he got his hips that do not lie, thanks to Shakira. He's been able to be a really good major league pitcher. And maybe all of this time when I was calling him a dud and one of the worst first round picks that we've had, saying a lot, maybe all that time he just needed the hip surgery. Maybe that's all he needed. And, obviously me, I'm not David Peterson, so I don't know. I wouldn't know if, his hip was an issue, but night and day, we're seeing a lot of adjustments from the pitcher he was before it and the pitcher he was after. And he most likely will be pitching tomorrow on the national stage for the All-Star game as a replacement, as a reserve, whatever you want to call it, but well-deserved for David Peterson this season because he has been one of the keys for this team's success. Especially from a pitching staff that has carried a lot of the weight this year. David Peterson is a big part of that. Now, if there's anybody else we want to put into the MVP category as like for improv here, for stupid sake, let's just say that. I think you can put, I think you could put Senga in that discussion.
Yeah,
you could.
If healthy, he's definitely
If
in the
healthy,
conversation.
yes.
Yeah, because his numbers are ridiculous.
Again, Brazaban was there for a while. There was,
Reed had a
Garrett
shot
was there for a
struggled.
while. Let's see. Has there been anybody that's been like completely DFA'd and was the MVP for playing so bad that they got? Because like last year, Omar Narvaez, huge MVP for playing so bad, getting DFA'd. So, Luis Torrens can come into the mix. Who knows?
I think if it wasn't for the injury, as far as like an underrated guy, especially with how he was going lately, was Marte. I mean, we look at the way his numbers are at right now.
Marte.
He was actually turning out well above average, league average offense.
Yeah, sure.
And we didn't expect that. I mean, we knew he'd get hurt eventually, but I think as far as like maybe going a little above expectations,
we knew the cards were coming.
Eventually, something was going to happen. Something lower half was going to happen, and it did. But until that point, and it was right up until the injury too, he was looking pretty solid.
Yeah, again, Ricardo saying, I always believed in Peterson over McGill. He reminds me of Andy Pettit. I'm guessing he's saying Andy Pettit so much. Are you saying that he's a steroid user, Peterson, and that's the reason why he's having
if they actually use him in the playoffs, then we can see if he's really Andy Pettit or not. So
we will find out. We will.
Because they didn't.
Anyone who ever believed in Tyler McGill, those people are ridiculous. But, anyways, but no, Peterson has developed into, like we've said with Brett Beatty, a first-round pick. This is definitely a good return on value, and it will be interesting to see in these next few years of what the future holds for David Peterson, if he does get paid by this team or somewhere else. Like, we'll see what the future is.
The Mets draft guys, he's probably one of the best first-round picks they ever had, which isn't saying much because most of them stink, but he's actually
recently, him and Nimmo.
Nimmo. Like, you have some guys.
And then there's Beatty as a close third.
Yeah, but like over the last, we'll call it like decade or so, like he's
sure. I think like right before the cusp of that, you had Matt Harvey for a second, and then you had I think Steven Matz was second round pick. There was a few, but they definitely took a while for Peterson. But he's finally in that late blooming stage of being a big part.
What happens? Late bloomer. It happens.
It just takes a little time. Sometimes it just takes a little time, and that's why Brett Beatty will be here until he's 36 years old. So, So him and Nimmo are probably the big success stories in the first round, because even guys that we traded away like Jared Kelenic, he hasn't been good at all. Dom Smith.
We would have had an amazing first round pick if we didn't trade him, but
Oh, so maybe he is the best first round pick.
Well, not in Met uniform, which people have said, like, you do wonder though, seeing what's happened to Beatty, Vientos, Mauricio, like all the Mets hitting prospects. Does PCA have like 25 home runs at the All-Star break as a Met? Man,
100%. Because if you plug guys in, they 100% do that. Just like how Eduardo Escobar hit 35 home runs that one year, and it was 100% going to happen he did that in the Mets uniform. Anyways.
We did have September Escobar, though, to save us.
We did have, the month of Escobar. Anyways, and then he was one of the worst hitters in all of baseball to start the year the next year. I would love to re-sign Peterson. I don't like signing pitchers at all, to be honest. I look at them as running backs at this point.
Yeah, short shelf life, not something you want to invest in long term for the most part, especially given how long it took him to finally, get to this level. Yeah. He's, he was already a senior out of Oregon. So I don't know. He's got to be 29 now?
Yes,
right? He came up at 24. He came up at 24. It was the shortened season. 25 was like his first full season. It wasn't great. 2022, he showed some strides, but was hurt as well.
Yeah.
This is This is getting up like since then. I mean, he's pitched over 200 innings since that Shakira surgery, and 230. I'm sorry, I will continue to say that because it's hilarious. So we'll see. We will see. So, but if you were to say from his entire career, through Fangraphs, their dollar amount or whatever they do it per wins above replacement, 60 million is what he's earned throughout his entire career, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, he's decent. Recently, he's been good, but 60 million, let's say over like, I don't know, 3 years would probably be something that he gets overpaid on the market. I'm not someone who likes to pay pitchers. It's not a bad deal. It isn't. It is not a bad deal, especially in terms of the return and value. Again, dependability. That's what he has been these last 2 years. So
hard to get that.
We'll see. Again, like I said, that we'll see what the future is because he is a free agent. Not this at the end of this year, but the end of next year, he will be a free agent. So we'll see how that is looked at. We will see.
Which, if he has a good year next year, then you're looking at like 3 straight years of being solid. Like that. That's going to get you some money for sure.
Yeah, and the Angels are going to love him.
Yeah, the Angels. Come on. Yeah. So, we'll see, but I mean, he's put himself on a really good path for sure.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just someone who I don't like paying pitching at all. Like, develop your own arms, please, for the love of it.
But it's like if there was one you would want to keep, it'd be the guy who's been healthy for you. I would say because it's obviously, like yes you could definitely get pitchers better than him, no doubt. But it's hard to get guys that are healthier than him. Like it's like you said, it's just so difficult right now.
And who knows? At any point, maybe he goes down with an injury.
Yeah,
like, you never know.
Been.
You just never know. That's just how it is.
It could be a bad
either way.
Alonso throw. It could be anything. Like it could
be a bad Pete Alonso throw. It could be, having to make some kind of play because one of your idiot third basemen has no idea what they're doing. Odd Villain saying future Rockies ace David Peterson. I don't know. Ground ball pitchers do fairly well in Colorado. So
but
I will say
Colorado
that
actually pay him. you love how the one player they paid was Chris Bryant. Then he's like, his career is done. Like,
is it possible? I don't know. They just come out of the blue. They just come out of the blue, bring in a guy who's about to be in their 30s. Anyways, I think we're rambling at this point. But either way, anything else? Any other stuff that we can put out there before we get into the All-Star break? I know that the Home Run Derby has it started or it's still going, right? Is it?
Yeah.
It started. Okay.
Brent Rooker, Caminero, O'Neal Cruz, and one other guy.
Okay, so they're in the first round there. So we'll let our viewers go into the Home Run Derby. Enjoy the Home Run Derby. Enjoy the All-Star break as well. Either way, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you to Tony for coming on once again. TonyMetro, if you guys want to go follow him, all of the links are in the description as well. I know all of us individually as well. Tony, if there's anything, any closing message that you'd like to give before we get out of here. Again, thank you for coming on. I know that you've been been a guest on 2 podcasts now, I'd say in the past week. So you're becoming a celebrity again. Man. I mean, at one point you were Mr. Hollywood. Now you're,
Yeah, no, Mr. Guest Appearance now. Mr. Guest in the virtual
We're going to
seat.
call you Stan Lee for cameos.
I'm good with it. No, thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. Always fun to get the band back together here. Guys, check out my channel if you guys are not already on my channel or my TikTok. I post all my stuff to there as well. But overall message about the Mets, I think they're in a good place. I think that this trade deadline is crucial, and the moves that Stearns makes is going to determine how far they go this season. But thank you again to you guys for having me, and we're going to do it again soon, hopefully.
All right. Awesome. Either way, Frank, if there's anything else you'd like to put out on the table as we get to past the 2.5 hour mark here.
I mean, like we said, don't use 40 pitchers. Hit with men on base like that. Just if we could do any of that in the second half, there is potential. I mean, as negative as we are, it's like still. I mean, with all that's happened, to see where they're at, like it's right there. You know what I mean? Like they have a really good shot at having another very good year, but they just need some things to go right. And like I said before, it's that I feel like this record has prevented them from making the change that we would want to see as far as something that could actually help with their approach with men on base. But I just wonder, like we said, is there a cutoff? Like, because they're saying, oh, well, they're going to break out. They're going to break out of it. But like you said, you're 100 games in.
Yeah.
I mean, how late do you wait? Because eventually it gets too late and then you can't do anything because you can't get the replacement. So it's just, I don't know how it's just going to magically fix itself, but we'll see.
Billy Epler delusion is not a good disease to have. Let's just say that, where he thinks everything is fine and it all just completely explodes. And he has Big Daddy Warbucks' money to bail him out. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Thank you to Tony once again for joining us on the panel today. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. Frank's post games, obviously, when games start up again, because we have quite a little bit of a break here. Let's see. Make sure to follow everybody individually as well, including Andrew, our third Mike, who's not here. And of course, Tony in the description. And finally, let's go Mets. And also, everybody enjoy the All-Star break. Enjoy meaningless baseball. Enjoy fun things in front of you where you don't have to sweat out the New York Mets until we are back again at the end of the week. We will see you guys next time. Peace out.